Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
One question. What happened to Fred? I didn't get to hear what you guys said.
Yeah, I just...
It was time.
Pickleball vacation. What I was wondering is, could you somehow package, I know, I sound like a caller.
I'm trying to fall in love with somebody at 31, and I just kind of can't.
You been on the apps? Like the scouting apps?
Yeah,
I'm
not
swiping right.
I'm not I'm not swiping left. I'm not saying no to anybody. No, you go out there, you test his core strength, see if you can move
strength.
people.
If I hear the term core strength one more time.
With the punter quickly, sure, just do it on 7th round.
Is that too early for you, Paul?
Whatever. I'm not even
care.
in the worst kickoff return team was 6 yards.
One less first down, you need to get in field goal range, Ev.
Yeah,
All right, we're back, and that was Eric Scalavino. I believe.
That was the funniest thing I've ever heard him say on one of those.
You know what that's from, right?
Yeah, it was the only time I laughed at something he said.
Evan on Scal Crime there.
Not unwarranted.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered here. It is Thursday at Gillette Stadium, and that's right, no Fred again, and we're down another man. Paul is out as well, so...
Dropping like flies.
We call these the kid shows. I'm not sure I certainly don't qualify as
I'm
a kid.
married now, so I'm out.
I'm Unk too.
The young folks, you're Unk, yeah. What is the official definition of Unk?
Think
Old guy?
yeah.
Like
It's
uncle?
big bro.
Yeah,
Technically, I'm
what
big
is
bro.
it?
Uncle?
Unk. Yeah, uncle.
Yeah.
Wait,
Uncle.
you needed to ask that?
Well, I just
It's
need an
literally
official
right.
definition.
It's in the...
Unk. Uncle.
Did I
Well,
ever tell you guys about my instance, I think last season with Keyshawn Booty in the locker room?
I don't know.
One time he asked Tamara how old we were, and he found out that we were in our 30s, and he was just like, wait, you guys are old. And then he was like, respectfully. But I was like,
Called
okay.
you guys auntie.
Pretty much.
Asking a girl how old she is.
I know, it's pretty tough.
dicey.
He also
Oh my
struggled
God.
with Drake May too, so,
It's okay.
It's we're trying to help Keyshawn there, but we
He
gave
didn't
you
mean it with any malice.
Right. Well, we gave you a football pack show on Tuesday, I think, and we are 2 weeks from the draft, and the Hall of Fame announcements have come out as well for the finalists, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well, and hopefully maybe we'll find some fun topics to talk about as well to get us through these 2 hours here as we count down, because, Ev, as I said yesterday, I was doing an interview for our draft show, and I was like, I kind of get draft fatigue at this point, and then you start to get a lot of, misinformation and things about, well, that guy, he's got some issues that we didn't know about until April 15th or whatever it is. So I get kind of sick of it, and then I get to the point where I'm like, just get me to the end of the draft. Tell me who we got.
Yeah.
Let me jump in on these guys. But I'm curious with you because I don't think anybody works harder on it than you do.
Okay,
Do
you
you
gotta
get
stop
do you
saying
get
that.
the draft? Do you get draft fatigue?
No one works harder than Evan Lazar.
No, not at all. Honestly, now we're doing a lot of our draft content. Now it's time to turn it into content. I did all this research for the lead up of the draft, and now it's time to turn it all into our big boards and our mock drafts and all that kind of stuff. But then the beast comes out, and there's always 20 to 25 guys that Dan has ranked really high that weren't exactly on my radar. So then this panic sets in 2 weeks before the draft. So then this is where I start to cram, the last probably 20 guys I think are on my list that I want to get to in the next 2 weeks. Day 3 guys, not guys that, it's not like I haven't watched first round players, but no, there's no fatigue. There's none whatsoever.
If anything, you're having withdrawals this year because you didn't get to spend enough time on it.
Yeah, no, I'm really upset that I didn't.
Last year, week 5, Evan's starting up.
Oh yeah.
I'm really upset that I didn't
Week
go
5
to
of the
Senior
season,
Bowl.
preparing for the offseason.
Honestly,
You made me hate the draft.
Drake May's draft was the peak. That was the pinnacle for me.
Tapping out of the season and into the draft early.
Because I went to the Senior Bowl, and then I went to Jaden Daniels and Drake May's pro days as well. And I gotta say, being not so much the LSU one because the LSU one was crowded, but being at the Drake May's pro day was one of the coolest things ever. I really felt like I was I'm a scout now. Look at me at the pro day. It was awesome. That was great. But that's the only position I feel quarterback that you can really get much out of that. Like, I don't feel like if you go watch like a defensive lineman at a pro day, there's no pads. Like, you're not hitting anybody.
Just smacks a dummy.
Yeah. Maybe receivers, like watching them run routes on air, like you can kind of see how they move and how explosive they are and things like that. But that draft season, I don't know if that will ever be topped. That was like, I went full Mel Kiper. Like I was just completely.
Your wedding, Drake May's pro day.
Right.
It's
Top
close.
10. Top 10. Top
Right
10.
at the top
And we
together.
double dipped with the quarterbacks because we took Joe Milton too.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Who had to go outside on his pro day because the dome couldn't hold him. He had to go outside. But I remember at Drake May's pro day, and I probably told this story before. But I was standing on the sideline, like basically almost in the end zone because I was trying to stay out of the way as much as I possibly could. And he threw a pass to Tez Walker, a deep ball down the sideline, about probably 50, 55 yards in the air. And it just landed right in the bread basket in stride to Tez Walker. And I just looked at the person standing next to me and was like, whoa. And he was like, yeah, that was sick. And I was like, at that point on, I was in love.
Yeah.
I
I
was
remember-
like, yep, that's the guy.
I remember
Done.
both you guys on the draft countdown being like, I'm good with either of these guys, Jaden Daniels or Drake. Like anything's
Yeah.
an upgrade at this
Yeah.
point.
Jaden Daniels' pro day, like Drake May's pro day, he featured a lot of like his movement ability and like off script and off platform, and he was moving around and the guys were running at him and he was like dodging them. Jaden Daniels stood in the middle of the field and threw like 35 darts, just standing right in the same spot in the middle of the field, and did some drops from under center and just was like showing that he could be like a pocket passer. And the accuracy was just immediately stood out. Like he was just pinpoint accurate.
Did you notice Drake's downfield accuracy? That was when we got him in OTAs here. It was like, whoa, this
Yeah.
kid can throw the ball down the field. with
Yeah,
the
like
touch.
Drake May was doing the pro day throws. Like he was like rolling to his right and throwing back to the left.
The
and,
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, you're throwing deep balls down the field, throwing on the move, and it was just the natural like gumbiness of his body to throw off platform, and then the downfield accuracy really stood out with him. But with Jaden Daniels, it was clinical. Like he was in the same spot, really quiet mechanics, like didn't easy velocity, easy accuracy. Drake Mays was a little bit more up and down, to be honest with you. Like there was definitely some May sprays that day, but the wow throws were like, okay, this guy's legit.
Yeah, I've been spending the last couple days in the beast, and I was cracking me up though today. I was like the biographies that he gets, where it was like raised in a 2-bedroom house in Odessa, Texas, with a father and his stepmother, and his brother, his 7 brothers. Like he goes in so much depth, and I'm like, this is all great, but like, can I just get the little blurb about the football part?
A 2-bedroom house with 7 brothers? That's
I know.
a little bit of
I mean, it's just,
personality stuff, though.
I know. It's telling you a whole story about every one of these guys. And I said to Ev today, I'm just like, what is his process like? Because I think I said it when we were at the combine. Like everyone knows the beast. Like it is like kind of the pinnacle of all of this stuff that we do with the draft. And a lot of people walk around very self-important at the combine, and you see them doing the various interviews, and and maybe it's even tough to get certain people on for interviews. But Dane's like, no big deal. He's kind of walking around, unassuming kind of guy. You'd never really realize how prolific of a writer and analyst that this guy is. I mean, I think it's like 680 pages.
Yeah.
Every single year. I don't know how he does
a
it.
research team for that?
There's a team of people that help
Okay,
him with
has
it.
to.
Graphics,
Also
at
with the
least.
graphics
Yeah.
and like the outline and all that layout and all that kind of stuff. I think he has like 2,000 players in it this year.
Damn.
I just don't
yeah.
even know where to begin with it, because we do. I mean, I do projects. We do like sound odysseys and all that kind of stuff that requires a lot of planning. But like this is a level that I can't even, like, I can barely fathom writing a book. Like I was looking like,
Oh, I know,
there's so
right?
many books in the world. I'm like, how did this many people write a book? Like it just seems so difficult to me to even like complete a whole book. And there are books everywhere. It seems like everybody's written a book, but. Dane Brugler, we appreciate you, and the timing that it comes out. It, like Eva says, all of a sudden it gives you this whole new resource. And
Yeah.
I just noticed Oscar Delp's a guy that we talked a lot about. That was his 3rd ranked guy and a little higher, and it's,
Yeah.
you
I
see
finished with
he's-
him as my 2nd ranked tight end
Yeah.
because I just can't do it with Stowers. I just
Yeah.
like I almost moved him to wide receiver, and honestly, so I think Dane was the one that had that in the beast, that some teams are viewing Eli Stowers as a wide receiver and actually have moved him on their board to wide receiver. So, there was a couple guys like that. Another one that really stood out to me was Travis Burke, the tackle from Memphis. He had going in like the 4th round, which was a lot higher than I thought he would go. So there's always guys like that. And, it's just one person's opinion. It's not gospel, but he talks to teams and it kind of has an idea of where teams have him on boards too. And it's not just like his evaluation of the player. There's also some of that. And then there's also, I think the biggest thing, and he does a great job with this, is injuries, off-field background, like that kind of stuff, where unfortunately a lot of guys have some red flags and teams know all the red flags, but the public doesn't. So when we find out, there's a guy that we all think is going to go in the 1st round and all of a sudden he drops to the 5th round, Shador Sanders, like there's maybe stuff that's bubbling under the surface that we don't know about. And
it's like sent to the principal's office in 3rd grade for skipping 3rd period biology.
No, there's some guys on there, and I don't want to because some of it's dark, but there's some guys on there that I'm just like, oh boy, if I this is bad, that type
Some
of
domestic
stuff.
violence stuff.
Yeah, just arrests and things like that, and then obviously the injuries. So somebody actually ran. We're Copilot, right?
Yeah.
I ran it through Copilot and put the beast into Copilot with keywords filtered, and then was able to put a spreadsheet together of all the guys that were mentioned with injury concerns in the beast. And so for people like me, that just really makes it so much easier just to grab all of those, because we all know the Jordan Tyson injury history or Chris Bell coming off an ACL and things like that. But there are certain guys that I never would have known had as extensive of an injury history as they do. Like Deontay Lawson, the linebacker from Alabama, has all sorts of injuries that Dane has him in the 7th round as a guy that some people have mocked in top 100s, so things like that are important in context as to why guys slide on the weekend of the draft.
All right. Well, we gave Dane Brugler some love as he deserves, but let's talk about the Hall of Fame a little bit. And we'll be here for the next 2 hours, so please give us a call or podcast at patriots.com, or what is the number? 1-800-555-PATS.
Asking it wrong.
No, 855.
855.
Is that your home phone number?
There you go.
I don't know my
No,
home phone number.
555 isn't it always
That's
a
the
fake
fake number.
Number, right?
So they use in
but if
movies
it's
and
in a
stuff?
1-800, it might work. I'm sorry, I forgot what the number was. But
Someone gets a call today.
Have you ever handed out a fake number? I feel like
Oh,
that,
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like girls do that all the time. Right?
100%.
Yes.
Many
that's
times.
rude. And
Many
mean.
times.
Just stand up
I've
and say
also
what you
given
feel.
out numbers of men that have wronged me too.
Oh,
So other
an
men are
aside.
calling men that have wronged you. So
Yeah.
men that would like to date
Yeah.
you are now calling men that have wronged you.
Exactly.
That's a
Yes,
good
hey, you
play.
got the
That's
wrong
It's been
number,
like
bro.
10 years since I've done that though.
So,
Long time ago.
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame announced the finalists, not the 3 that I voted for, but certainly a deserving 3 with Adam Vinatieri, who's going to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this summer. Logan Mankins, again, making it to the finals, and Rob Gronkowski, the big Gronk. And I've seen a lot of debate online of, some people aren't a fan of only one person going in every year. We'll remind people the senior committee will meet next year, so some of those older players will have a specific chance to get in. That only happens every few years, but it's great stuff for debate. And the Patriots right now have a lot of great players. I mean, look, those are 3 Hall of Fame. I mean, I'm sure Gronk's going to get in there someday. Mankins should probably be in that conversation. One of the things said about Mankins in the room when we were discussing this, saying this is one of the best offensive linemen I've ever seen play. Really hard to measure that kind of thing, but I think what hangs
I'm
over
sure they're all
of
breaking
this-
down the tape. in that room.
right. It doesn't take much to appreciate a guy who can play on a tore ACL, slide out to left tackle, no problem. But at the same time, it's just Gronk is hanging over this, I feel like, because he is a generational player that is beloved by the fans. And when you have a system like this that puts the power in the fans' hands, there's a good chance, especially with the fact that Gronk played later and Adam Vinatieri did a lot of his best work here 20 plus years ago. I think a lot of people believe it's going to be Gronk.
You can't put Edelman in first ballot and then not put Gronk in, and that
They should have gone together. I mean.
Yeah, and that
know,
would work
right?
too. But it's just it sucks because you have McCourty coming up, you have Slater coming up, Hightower, all these great players, which our generation, like Alex and I and Evan, it's these are the guys that were the second dynasty. Not as many people know Vinatieri anymore. All these people are just going to keep getting pushed back. Yeah. So I think
that's
something
what I
needs to be
said
tweaked.
yesterday. Was I identify with the 2010s Patriots a lot more than the 2000s Patriots.
We were so little.
I was 9 when they won the Super Bowl in 2001. So like, remember watching. I was there. I remember like watching it. I remember.
You remember like the big skill players, but
and I remember the teams, but I didn't know football back then.
Exactly.
I was 9 years old. Like once I got into the 2010s and I was in high school and college, like that was my fandom had formed. Like my football knowledge was starting to form too. So I just appreciated those players a lot more. So for people our age, I'd say under 40, really, like Hightower, Gronkowski, Edelman, McCourty, like those guys are shoo-ins for people like us. And I think it's harder for the older generation because of that.
And look at the people voting. It's online. So then the younger generation is going to see that. Don't forget James White, too. Like Randy Moss.
They let Kevin Falk in.
Yeah,
James
Falk,
White's
James
gotta get
White.
in too.
Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think something needs to be fixed.
there's going to be a backup for a long time.
Yeah, and then you're just putting, all right, we're going to put him in as a contributor or whatever. Like, is that the same thing? I don't know. It gets murky.
First with Vinatieri, I think the thing that stood out to me, I've been working a little bit on the 96 season and watching those games back, and it's amazing how close he was to getting cut about 3 games into that 96 season. He missed a bunch of kicks. At one point, lining up for a field goal, and Jerry Glanville, the color analyst, says, if he misses this kick, you might have to go get a new kicker.
Oh, my God.
And I'm not sure there's another player or position that you can say was literally hanging by a thread. Like Gronk was never hanging by a thread. Gronk.
Edelman maybe.
Edelman, that's a really good one. Maybe because of injuries a little bit, and kicker's such a specific position. I think everyone can agree that kind of hurts Adam's chances a little bit, just in terms of the pure like ball guys. But Gronk's just such a powerhouse. It's so hard to. Yes, Adam Vinatieri is a Pro Football Hall of Famer, but Rob Gronkowski, from the moment he arrived in New England, he completely reinvigorated this whole franchise from the second he walked on the stage and put the stupid helmet on at the draft and started headbanging.
I mean, he's the greatest tight end of all time.
And it's like not even, it's like objective, like it's not objective, but it is.
Chiefs fans
kind
might
of
say
objective.
that it does have a different argument there, but like in terms of the actual tight end position and not just catching passes. I mean, he's the greatest tight end of all time. So
and going through all the injuries too. Like imagine if he stayed healthy his whole career.
Just the personality.
And he's just larger. Exactly.
Right.
He's larger than life.
It's hard because it's the greatest
Adam.
kicker of all time and it's the greatest tight end of all time. And to Deuce's point, like most people probably gravitate more towards the position player than a kicker.
But at the same time, the specialist literally took this whole franchise and put it on track to have what happened in 2001.
Those kicks that he made in the snow.
Snowball kick's the greatest kick in NFL history.
I love Paul's stories about being on the field at the other end of the stadium, and it was snowing so hard you couldn't even tell if you couldn't even see if the ball went through the uprights. You had to base it on the crowd.
So
and it's the same thing with Mankins, though. Even with Vinatieri, you can point to specific Super Bowl, impactful kicks, whether it was in the closing seconds of a Super Bowl, whether it was in a playoff game to get to that Super Bowl. And with Mankins in an offensive line, I think he's one that like you kind of see it, you can tell, but there's not like, well, that block he had. You're more like, this is the body of the work. And I mean, unfortunately, I think this is just part of what football is. And the guys who get to catch the touchdowns and make the big plays are the ones who get all the glory. And that's why I hated playing offensive line, because I'm just fighting with a guy the whole time. I want to touch the football.
I'm pretty sure Brady mentioned that in his Hall of Fame speech. Like he gave a special shout out to the lineman who did all the
Why do I
work.
feel like I remember him literally naming every single lineman he's ever worked with?
Yeah. We also didn't even mention Welker too.
Right.
There's Welker. David Andrews is going to come up too. That's another lineman who's going to get stuck in purgatory. So Oh no.
Let's just say to all the Patriots alumni out there, there's a lot of good players. Just be patient.
And we love you.
We love all of you.
You know what though? Fred's impassioned endorsement rant last
I thought I was
week.
trying to rig the vote.
I think he really
like...
made an impact though, because I just I read through the comments of some of the team account stuff sometimes, and when we announced the 3 selections this year, a lot of them were Gronk definitely, but a lot of people were like, hey, Adam should go in first. I would like to see Adam in first. So Fred's he's spreading that.
He's trying to. I don't know if everybody agrees with it though.
I feel like egos play into it too. Like do you think Gronk genuinely would be hurt if he didn't get a first ballot submission? Like I don't know. I can't speak for him, but there's some players that are like that.
is Gronk going to be a first ballot Pro Football?
Oh,
Hall of Fame?
100%.
Yeah,
He
he
should
should
be.
be.
So that's
right?
Well, actually, you never know
right?
anymore with the Pro Football.
100%.
I don't know.
I mean, like Megatron has basically had the same career just as a wide receiver, and he was first ballot. Like,
Yeah.
I'd be pretty shocked if he wasn't, and Megatron didn't win as much as Gronk either. The Makins one thing, like, it does surprise me how much the committee vouches for Makins, and I think a lot of the people on that committee covered him, and I think Makins was a kind of a favorite. And that is kind of like you brought up David Andrews.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
kind of similarly. He was a hell of a player, like really great Patriot, really great player. But to Deuce's point, like it surprises me that Welker has such a tough time getting on the ballot as the guy with the glory, the guy that has the stats and the
of Giselle.
production and all that kind of stuff. And
Literally because of Giselle.
and Makins is they just consistently put Makins on the ballot, and I think that is a little bit because they both didn't win. Like they both were in the sandwich
the
in
donut.
between. Yeah, the donut
The
in
Super
between
Bowl
Super
donut.
Bowls. So it's not Super Bowls. I think it's that Makins was nicer to people than Wes Welker. And Wes Welker I didn't cover, but I've heard that Wes Welker was kind of a
Prickly.
Yeah, I mean Edelman was prickly. I covered Edelman.
That's what happens when you're getting hammered across the middle for 10
I mean,
years.
like, let's I don't think he'd mind. Like Edelman was
nice
kind of
little
a jerk.
Yeah.
Eh,
Sometimes.
Oh,
Yeah.
he'd probably admit it to you.
yeah. No, there's no doubt about it. He's one of my
He's locked
all-time
in.
favorite guys,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's kind of a jerk. So I don't know. I'm a little surprised at how much of a push there is to try to get Makins on the ballot every year. It's a little like how Parcells was consistently on the ballot every year, and some of that to me kind of feels like a personal
Yeah.
preference
it's-
connection.
I mean, both. I mean, you kind of drew the parallel between Mankins and Welker, kind of both in the same time frame. I mean,
Right.
Mankins here a little bit sooner, but all contributed to very good teams that couldn't quite close the deal. Is it only held against Welker because he didn't connect on one pass in the Super Bowl? Or is it easier
Right,
just to say Mankins was awesome and
and you're not like
interesting.
Megan's unless he gave up like a strip sack or something like that. You don't have a moment that you can say like this is when he didn't come through because
But
he played guard. So like
also-
you're not going
Right,
to have
right,
that
right.
moment.
I think Welker also kind of suffers in the argument just because of the career Edelman went on to have right after him, and it was like kind of like copy paste Welker, and he had the Super Bowl moments.
And having been in the room when these guys were discussed, I was a little surprised that some people weighted Edelman's playoff performance more than Welker's overall body of work, which Welker's overall body of work exceeds, what Edelman did. And I hate having to put those two players up against each other because I both had so much fun watching those two guys play, and they had unique styles. They weren't the same guys, and that's why I think you can appreciate both of them for what differentiated them. And that Welker smaller, I mean, but his inside quickness, I mean, just his ability to drop on that little whip route. I mean, that thing. I mean, he's an expert at it. But Edelman just had that toughness, that all around kind of, especially when the game was on the line, and having it. It's such a hard exercise to pile these things up. It's a little easier when it's the same position and you can look at production and But I find myself a lot over these last couple weeks just going back to like what is a team Hall of Fame supposed to be? Like what is it supposed to mean? Like I said it on the show.
That's
like,
why
it's a Hall
Edelman
of
is-
Fame.
Yeah.
That's why Edelman was the first ballot.
Yeah.
Because you identify him as a Patriot more than Wes Welker. Like he identifies himself more as a Patriot. Like he's Foxborough forever. He's that
One
It was
team.
good marketing move by
Came
Edelman,
out of the
I think,
mud.
at the
right.
end of
Yeah.
that.
Like underdog. Scrapped his way onto the team into a role. Then
Super Bowl MVP.
played here for his entire career. Was a one-team guy. Super Bowl MVP. Like that. We just like Edelman better. Like we can just say it. Like you just like the guy better.
he
like
branded the hell out of himself.
Yeah.
He did. Well, like I said, I mean,
The catch.
with Gronk going on, Brady went on, Gronk went on, Welker went to Denver, which I was like, I think at
Yeah.
the time made me
Right.
sick.
And
Like,
Jules
he's
was the
going
only
to-
guy that's like,
Yeah.
no, one
Yeah.
team.
No,
And
it was,
I'm a
it was
lifer.
smart.
And that's the
Smart move.
difference to me between a team Hall of Fame and the actual Pro
Yeah.
Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Is the Edelman Foxborough forever thing should matter
Mm-hmm.
for the Patriots Hall of Fame. That's not going to matter in Canton. Like that's not how they measure
Same
who
thing
gets
with
the
like
gold.
David Andrews too.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
undrafted guy, came out of the mud too, and then entire career a Patriot and just a
Yeah.
perfect one.
Yeah.
It's interesting that Mankins and Gronk, or not Mankins, sorry, Vinatieri and Gronk both went on to win Super Bowls with other franchises elsewhere. I don't think that really gets held against them anymore. But do you guys think that? Do you think that will affect Gronk's voting at all? I mean,
No.
is that
It
anything
won't.
to do
It
for
shouldn't.
Patriots?
Not
Especially
Gronk.
because like
But there's differences.
you can see why Gronk did it. He did it for 1 year with Tom,
Yeah,
and
for
they
one
won.
person.
You know,
But then,
and then he
like,
was like, "All right, peace."
Welker was a little bit different. He goes
Yeah.
to Denver with Peyton Manning. So, oh no. It was more, it feels like there was more animosity in Welker's decision.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well,
I mean,
him and Bill they
Yeah.
had fallen out at that point.
falling out.
Yeah.
No, but I think that plays a role compared to,
Yeah.
to Gronk, who was like, I'll come back because Tom's my boy.
Yeah.
I mean, because they paid Danny Amendola like similar money than what Welker had gotten. That was a relationship between him and Belichick that got spicy at the end, and kind of was spicy the whole time. Like the Rex Ryan feet thing, and like it was never like the Wally Pipp
Wally
on the
Pipp.
like I don't think that there was ever really a love fest going on between those two.
I mean,
to
if
be honest.
Bill is going up to West and talking about Wally Pipp mid-game,
Way to
it's
compete,
like,
Welker.
yeah, it's like, and some of that
Right,
stuff went right
right.
over Welker's head. Like, did he even realize Bill was being to
Yeah. I mean,
him?
I think like really, I mean, I guess it's like when he tore his ACL in 2009 at the end of that season, that kind of felt like the end of the first chapter with Welker, which, 2007, I mean, came in here and was just prolific. 2008, even with Castle, was prolific. 2009 continues to, perform at an incredible rate. And then, not that it had anything to do with tearing his ACL, but I mean, he tears his ACL, one of the worst losses, non-Super Bowl losses of the dynasty era in 2010 against the Jets. Then in 2010, he comes back. He still has another really good performance coming off an ACL. We know how hard that is to do. But then he gets benched at the beginning, and then the missed catch in the Super Bowl. And it's weird how those things, fall apart a little bit. And there were certainly some disappointing finishes mixed in there. But I don't know. I would love to see Wes Welker get in there eventually. And Paul does a great job of presenting his case. It's just he's like the leading receiver. I mean, he was just the numbers don't lie. And as I said in the room, I was a little surprised that just people didn't seem all that impressed with what Wes Welker did. But I don't know. We'll see. We got to wait till next year. We'll see if we can get him in. So,
Well, here's another thing with the Hall of Fame, though.
yeah.
Say they change the rule. Does it become like disrespectful at a point? Like,
What, you're just letting like four guys in at once?
Here's Gronk and D-Mac in 2 years. Oh,
Yeah.
we'll put Mankins in too. Like, do you think that's like disrespectful?
No, I mean, I kind of think you got to just continue to ride the way that they've been doing it, because all of a sudden, what are you going to do all of a sudden? Like, let's just get a bunch of people in so feelings don't get hurt. Like, would you rather have your feelings hurt a little bit right now? Like, Mike Vrabel had his feelings maybe hurt. I don't know if Mike Vrabel got his feelings hurt by not being, but he goes a few years.
He brought it up.
He brought it up. Of
Yeah.
course, that's what he does. But is it worth it though to go through a little of that disappointment then to be able to get a day and have a day where the whole focus
And
is
let
on
the fans
you
appreciate
and your
you.
career, and that the fans are all there to honor you. I do think that there's some value in it. I like the senior thing though, because I do think that there are older players that were special to the Patriots franchise, that fans who came to know this team when they were winning Super Bowls should know about. Like, Ben Coates is an example. I think he's already in, but just those kind of guys who, before there was Gronk and Brady, there were some really good players around here. When I was just thinking Raymond Claiborne, it's just a random name that probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but was an outstanding cornerback, one of the best, in the league. And, another guy who's kind of flirted with Pro Football Hall of Fame consideration.
I
So,
can't believe Stanley Morgan doesn't get more Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he still has the career record for yards per catch. Now, different era, like they are throwing
Right.
down the field,
Chuck it
and
up.
it was like 50% completion rate back then. You're throwing deep or you're getting picked off. Those were like the two options. But yeah, he's definitely on that. I think that the one at a time thing to me is fine, because let's face it, they had 20 years of dominance where there's a lot of really deserving candidates. Unfortunately, at some point that well is going to start to run a little bit drier, and then we can kind of come back around to some of these guys that were flirting with it, fringe, Mankins types, and they'll get in. Like right now, we're still kind of turning out Brady, Edelman, Gronk, McCourty, like some really big names, but eventually we won't have as much to nominate, and then we'll come back around.
But you just listed like 7 guys. So it's like 2035. I would hope we get some really good players.
Yeah, but then you need to wait 4 years for them to retire, and then they need to be eligible.
That's
and,
why they should have just let
be a
Brady
gap.
in, but still met and still had a vote for someone else. Like, you're already bending the rules to let Brady in right away. Just bend the rule and let 2 people in that year. You don't have this backlog. Like, I think it was kind of short-sighted. I don't know if anyone looked ahead to be like, okay, well, Adam should have gone in this year. You can't just shoo him in next year because then it's Edelman. You know, it kind of created this backlog, and now we're just in this predicament.
Now everybody's aware of it right now, of the backup. But Ev, I'd be curious just your kind of case for Devin McCourty, because I think he's a guy that, and we talk about like guards, you don't have a really like point to stats. You can't really point to McCourty's stats per se, or interception stat. I mean, but he was a glue guy on the back, basically making the whole thing.
I would say he's the definition of Patriots Hall of Fame. Look, I think it's similar to Edelman, but on the defensive side, and also McCourty stayed with us for the dark years as well.
Yeah. McCourty went down with the ship.
He's like, I think I'm good now.
Slater too. God bless both.
Yeah,
of them.
I remember when he retired. What was it after 22?
22. I
Yeah,
think
he knew
Matt
that.
23.
Patricia year.
I remember he said, like, I knew we weren't going to be good. Like, he could feel it, and he could sense it and see what was happening around him. I would say, in terms of the football, he had fantastic range, as a deep safety. Like, he could go sideline to sideline, run anything down. Both McCourties can really run. Both those guys have got real wheels. I remember, talking to guys like who's the fastest guy on the team, things like that. And they would, we got to, like, the McCourties got to be in that conversation. So those guys could really run. He could really play the deep part of the field. They played a lot of post single high safety back then, man coverage underneath, and he was consistently the guy over the top that was helping everybody out. So they had, principles, rules, divider leverages where they splitting up, inside, outside leverage, and you're funneling guys to where your help is with body positioning. And 9 times out of 10, the help was Devin McCourty. And it was sort of his job to take away certain routes so that the corners had an easier job of going about it. Obviously, essentially ran the defense, eventually. And Bill Belichick talked about it when he retired, gave a great speech about his meeting with him before the draft at Rutgers, where he could break down the entire Rutgers defense from front to back. And he just knew everything about the Rutgers defense. So he was a defensive coordinator on the field. That's a big part of it too. And then obviously just a great person and, character. But in terms of the football, hard to find a smarter, more instinctive, more, high IQ kind of player than that. I mean, he was truly a quarterback of the defense.
Yeah, it's just another guy, though. It's like intangibles. You're leaning more into intangibles with Mankins, any offensive lineman, maybe even some defensive lineman. I was thinking, though, a little bit about Hunter Henry. Like, might Hunter Henry be kind of the dividing line guy when we'll finally, get away from dynasty era Super Bowl winning players? Could Hunter Henry be the first? And I know he played for Bill for a few years, but for the most part, I mean, he's the second?
I would say he gets in. I'd say he gets in too. He was also through the rough period as well. Had this season. He's always open, reliable. Like, I think he'd get in as well.
His stats are a lot better than I expected. We actually talked about that on Catch 22 a couple weeks ago, and Barth pulled it up, and he's like, it's like Gronk, Coates, Henry.
He's like 3.
And like, now I think this is what, year 6 for him with the Patriots, which is hard to believe.
It's like
so,
him and when I guess when he was here 2020, right?
Yeah.
So when he was
Hunter was that big free agency
2021,
class
with,
with like John Smith.
Yeah.
And he's gonna end up he's gonna be a Patriot. Like, he was a Charger, obviously drafted by the Chargers. He's gonna have spent way more time here than he did with the Chargers. So,
and him and Parker have made a life here too. He's like one of those guys like David Andrews, where like they're here, I think, full time now.
Yep.
I feel like an interesting one would be like Gilmore, because like defensive player of the year, but like he was here 2.5 years, 3 years, got the Super Bowl, but like those are the interesting guys to me that weren't here that long, but made a small name for themselves.
I mean, that's just the most simple dividing line of these candidates is a guy who was here for a good time, not a long time, or for a long time for a solid amount of time. You know what I mean? Like a solid performance, solid contributions, but not like Gilmore, who won, hardware that clearly shows he was one of the best, defenders in the NFL, probably the best defender in the NFL. That year was crazy.
I'm
Yeah,
down
19
to
was
troll
crazy.
the Jets and put Revis in.
Let's not get crazy. Let's not get too crazy.
Gilmore started out rough here. I remember the first
Very
month.
rough. That
They-
Panthers game was
They,
scarring.
and they were playing all this zone and
Yep.
putting them in all these bad spots and stuff like that. And everybody was like, "What are we doing? You got what?
you
just
paid him
this
all that
guy
money."
all this money." Dallas Thomas 2.0. Like here we go. And then they started playing a lot more man. He makes the play in the AFC Championship game against the Jaguars to end the game, and that was kind of the rest is sort of history with him. He just sort of took off from there. And in the Super Bowl that year, it was Alshon Jeffrey, right? That was killing him. And then they finally moved Gilmore on to Alshon Jeffrey. Never heard of his name called again. And then 18, they win the Super Bowl. He has the pick, in the Super Bowl, Defensive Player of the Year in 19.
It's almost like
It's crazy.
Vinatieri, where
and then
he's
becomes
got,
a journeyman.
right. Well, he's got
know.
like 3 years straight of iconic plays, iconic moments to get them to championship games, to win championship games. But not a long time. Not a long time.
Yeah, the pick in the Super Bowl was probably one of the easiest picks of his career. But I remember he had like a picture of it in his locker, like all of 2019. And I was like, "How many? You have that one framed?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, like that's
His retirement video too, like that was the premiere play.
yeah."
Yeah.
I mean, he made a pick in the
Signature
Super
play.
Bowl. I get it.
Just
Yeah.
like J-Max should probably be in that Super Bowl too, coming across on Brandon Cooks. But any other current Patriots? I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves with Drake May, but I mean, I see Hunter
Gonzo if he
Henry right
resigns.
now. I mean,
Yeah,
it's great to
Gonzo's a
see,
good one.
like in theory, but like if Gonzo, let's say they traded him tomorrow, probably not, there's some potential there.
Gonzo's a good one if he stays here.
Yeah.
And obviously Drake May is another one. Hunter Henry is a lot closer than I don't really think of Hunter Henry as like a Hall of Fame type of player. And then he obviously played at a time where they didn't win a whole lot until recently. So like, and if they have another Super Bowl caliber season next year that he's a part of, then maybe you start to change your mind a little bit. But he was here for some dark years, like some down, not good years for the team. So it's kind of hard to think about.
It'd be a good game. This is a little bit off topic, but we're just talking about like the down years. I can't really separate.
It was 5 long years.
22 and 23. Like the 20. Like
No.
if we did a game where did this happen in
You mean
2022
23 or
or 2023?
Really?
No, the last 2 Bill years. Like I think I
22.
would.
Because 22,
You
like
had Matt Patricia or you had Bill O'Brien?
right.
Because 21, they were good, and then you get the schedule and you get all the primetime games. And like,
Good-ish.
there were so many close games, like the Bengals, the Dolphins opener.
Yeah.
And then you get the next season, you're like, okay, we're going to build off this, and they just didn't.
see, like 22, I feel differently about than 23 and 24, because 22, like they were in it until if they had beaten Buffalo in the last week of the season, they were going to make the playoffs.
I don't know if I remember this correctly too, but 22 I think was the same thing. A lot of close games.
No,
where
there was the week 1, wasn't it? Dolphins, Harris fumbled on the
Yeah.
one, and then you had the
They had a
Bengals,
couple
the same
games like
thing,
that.
and then you had
22 is
the Raiders.
the Raiders game.
Minnesota Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
right?
it's
yeah.
Wait, Hunter Henry did score a touchdown on
And
that.
you're-
play.
Like 22 didn't feel
See,
that
That's
bad.
the thing. If you ask me right now, the Raiders throwback game before I looked at it, which was that?
What year was that?
22 or 23? I would have probably said 23.
But
I
like the
think.
one
23
team,
and
one team
24 were
was
just
8 and 9, and one team was
misery.
4 and 13.
I know.
The 2, 4, and 13
I know.
years are-
Another weird team was the 2020 year, because that
Oh,
team
that
was
was-
a
that was just
no,
bad.
but wait,
Throw it
that
out the
team was a
window.
couple plays away from sneaking
it
in the wild. What do you
wasn't.
mean?
No, it
What do you
wasn't.
mean? The Cam Newton fumble?
As soon as
Against Buffalo.
As soon as Cam got COVID,
Oh, yeah.
it was downhill from there.
We also
They-
throw into Demir Bird,
they peaked in Seattle. Like
which they lost.
I'd say
Yeah, right.
a combination of Cam getting COVID, and then I stand by. If Cam had scored at the 1 yard line in Seattle, I think that changes that season too.
Yeah.
They would have been. I don't know if they would have been 2-0. They might have been 1-1. But that was. I mean, he had like 400 yards of offense, like running and throwing. Like he looked like the old Cam Newton.
Yeah.
And he was like just slinging it to Edelman. Edelman had a huge game. all over the place.
last big game Edelman.
Yeah, you were like, oh, he's still.
Yeah.
I think he said he's like that was
wheels
it.
fell
He was like
off.
after that, I
Yeah.
was like, I was done.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to think what else with that season. Oh, that season against the 49ers, that was the first like Pats game I remember being like, this is disgusting. Like I can't watch this anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
Cam started throwing lead balloons at some point. Like that was not going anywhere.
that was that was one. I've loved watching the different quarterbacks. Like, I mean, in my time here, got Tom Brady the first year, which was obviously cool, and I had seen Brady in training camp before,
Which was obviously cool.
But then, like watching Cam Newton and Jarrett Stidham in 2020, watching Mac Jones and Cam Newton and Jarrett Stidham in 2021,
Boyer,
seeing
Zappy.
Bailey Zappi coming in. It's really interesting to watch rookie quarterbacks, new quarterbacks come in, try to figure it out as a quarterback. I mean, my thing with Cam was that he was just always late, and then he'd try to throw it extra hard to make up for being late to it.
I
but
thought you
if
meant late, like to press conferences. 'Cause
Well,
there was that too.
There was that too. We'd be sitting on
Oh,
Zoom.
God, like for like an
I remember
hour.
sitting at home and I'm like,
Oh, and you'd have to
it's like
start the clock.
5:30 and I'm like, dinner's gonna start.
And then Mike Reese would go like, Cam, how you doing? And go, sensational.
Yeah.
Immaculate.
It's too bad we didn't get to see more of him. Like I thought he was a really fun guy.
It was fun.
And,
It was fun. I'm just
did
saying that
really
team
Like
like
if it
fun.
wasn't the COVID season.
Yeah. But that whole season, I just looking back on that, what a nightmare. I mean, when you see the highlights on TV sometimes with no fans in the stadium, I'm like, how did we do this?
With the fake noise.
Like, how do you get up for
I
and they
forget
run
what
over
life
to the
was even
camera?
like during that time.
Oh
It
my
was so
God. We're
miserable
all
covering
getting
sports.
We had to get tested all the time.
Yeah.
I got pulled off of Patriots Unfiltered because I had like a fake false positive. We all had false positives.
when
that day.
everyone had a false positive.
That was 21. That was 21 because
Yes.
I was traveling again. That 2020.
The whole media corps had a fake positive,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
guys were dropping like flies.
We were in.
I was watching from afar at Nesson.
I
on
got
my
a text that was like,
computer.
you need to leave the building immediately. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, we were in Indy the week before against the Colts, the Jonathan Taylor
Ran all over
touchdown
us.
game. Yeah. And we all came back, and it was late in the season. It was like right around Christmas time. And I'm driving home from the stadium from practice one day, and it's never good when Stacey James flashes on the caller ID. Like you're like, oh God,
You're checking your Twitter.
Yeah, I'm like, what did I do? Like, I didn't even work for the team yet, and I was
You're still scared?
I was freaking out. I was like, I'm gonna pull over. My heart's like beating out of my chest, and he's like, yeah, like you tested positive for COVID. And at the time, not to like make it about me, but that was my job, was my livelihood at the time. Like if I didn't go cover games, I wasn't gonna get paid. So I was like,
Yeah.
Stacey, I literally can't miss anything. Like I can't miss, because he was saying like you can't come to a game for 2 weeks, and I was like,
How's this gonna work?
I'm not gonna pay my rent.
yeah, and I was like, that's not an option for me. And so I was freaking out, and so I went and got tested someplace else, and like to try to prove to them that I
You
wasn't.
got a second
sick.
opinion.
Yeah, I literally got a second opinion.
Honestly, good for you.
Yeah, because
that
I
was
felt
false,
fine.
right? That was
yeah,
negative,
it was.
right?
Yeah, I was
Everyone's
right.
was
Yeah.
negative.
Yeah.
Well, I remember after I got mine, I was driving home and I'm like, I feel 100% fine. I'm like, this is stupid. If this
Yeah.
is like what COVID is now, like, no, you have it, but you're not showing any symptoms or
Yeah.
anything. But luckily, it was all fake.
Ugh, what a time.
What a time. All right, hey, you guys looking for fresh new furniture before next season starts? Bob's Discount Furniture has tons of in-stock styles that ship fast so you can get game day ready in no time. Shop Bob's for wow-worthy prices on everything from feature-packed reclining sofas and modular sectionals made for winning watch parties to trendy bedrooms and top-rated mattresses designed to help you rest up before your next football marathon. So stop in or shop online and get more for less with Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. I think get rid of those Reed's tees, you know. Let's turn over to you guys and hear what you got to say. Let's see who's been hanging on the longest. Sean up in Vancouver. Hey, Sean, thanks for calling in. What's up?
Mike, I got a couple of things.
Oh, hold on, Sean. We can't hear you.
yeah.
Get a volume
Can
pumping
you hear
here,
me now?
Matt.
Shawnee.
Sean, one
Is it
second.
better? Hello?
All right, go ahead. Fire away, Sean.
Can you hear me now?
Nope.
Oh, no,
No.
not yet.
Ah, Jesus.
Hold on. We're having a
That sucks.
technical issue here for a minute.
Ah,
Our video
Haven't called
stream
back?
also
Sean,
is
you're there.
not
They just
on.
can't hear you
Oh,
in
God.
studio.
Sean, I'm
Hold
going to
on.
put you back on
No,
hold for a
okay.
second. We'll get back to you. I
Things are breaking.
think that
No,
works.
good.
All right, I got to drop you, Sean. Call back, Sean. Sorry about that.
Oh,
Oh, there was the sound.
all right.
Did you do
This
Zach?
is what happens. No Fred and Paul. Everything falls apart.
Sean, call
Nah,
back.
he's giving the thumbs up.
We're going to
good.
give it a second try with this guy who I know will have good luck. It's Christian in LA. Hey, Christian, what's going on?
Hey, you guys. How you doing today?
Great.
Hey.
Good.
How are you?
All right. So 5 quick points to answer all your questions. The difference for me between Edelman and Welker is the catch. Edelman made the catch. Welker didn't. that's my opinion between what separates me with those guys as who is the best and who goes to the Hall. With Gronkowski, Vinatieri, and I think with Mencken, which one of those three guys, when you say their names, make you smile or give you butterflies when you say their name? That's the difference for those guys.
Which one gives you butterflies?
You know, when I think of Gronk, man, my face just lights up. I don't know why.
That's true.
You're in love and you don't care who knows it.
Right. You know, I love a different team, but Gronk makes me smile. You know.
That he does.
And then as far as who makes a team's Hall of Fame, not the actual Hall of Fame, but the team's Hall of Fame, for me is regardless of championships or not, which players either created or were involved in the most iconic moment that typifies the team's identity. You see what I'm saying? So that's for me is who makes a team's Hall of Fame. Yes, great if you won a championship, but if you were involved in one of the moments that when people think of the Patriots, they think of this moment and they think of you in that way, you belong in that team's Hall of Fame. And then lastly, to deal with the backlog of team Hall of Fame, I think every 10 years you do an anniversary year and you put in multiple players. There you go. There you have it.
There you go.
I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Christian.
So I guess maybe I'm just I don't think that there's a backlog. Like, I don't view it that way.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Like, yeah, like it's supposed to be hard. Like it's a Hall of Fame. Like it's not supposed. If we just started to let.
I think if it weren't
So you're
Adam,
saying luck of the draw?
No, I'm just saying it's supposed to be difficult to get into a Hall of Fame. It's not supposed to be a participation trophy. So like, if all of a sudden you start, let's say like they just say we're gonna let Vinatieri, Gronk, and Menckens in. Well, now the next round that we go, we're just diluting the sample, right? Like it's just gonna get like we're just kind of taking out the competition. I think it should be hard. I think it's the Hall of Fame.
I think there's a log, but there's a bigger backlog coming up.
I just wonder if it weren't Adam Vinatieri, if it were anyone else kind of like assumed to be in that Brady year, if it were anyone else, would it feel as bad that he's not in it yet?
Yeah, it's,
like if it were Menckens.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Evan in just how it's a convergence of events and like, you know, when Vinatieri retired and, you know, when he came up and was eligible and then Brady and so
he's going to the pro and not ours is a little weird.
I mean, but like I side with Evan in that like I'd rather have, oh my God, it's too hard to pick this year than, well, we got to put somebody on this year. Who's it going to be? You know, and
that's
teams
sort of
like
my point. It's like, what if you start letting multiples in? At some point, you're diluting the talent pool. And no offense to anybody, I'm not going to name names. I don't want to offend anyone, but like, you're going to get to a point where you're kind of picking between guys that are like Hall of Very Good and not really the Hall of Fame. Well, and you're just like, all right.
Like this sounds stupid, but let's just highlight. Like this was the greatest run in sports history over a 20-year period. So yes, there are a lot of talented people, but there's no other team that has this problem. So like, you know, we act like it's pretty unique to the Patriots Hall of Fame that you have so many talented guys, and at least you're sawing through some of it. But
I think the first ballot thing matters too, though, a little. Like I think Gronk should be a first ballot Patriots Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But like, I think that's kind of what it is. But also the iconic moments thing, I don't know if I agree with that. Are we putting Jason McCourty in for the one thing? Or Ken Walter held all the kicks for Adam
Vinatieri. You know, and he was there when
Matt Chatham tackled the guy.
That was pretty famous.
I remember that.
No, I think it helps to have some signature moments, but it ultimately comes down to, you know, how much did you contribute to the franchise and, you know, all that. So
that's the difference. Like Welker had a better pro career than Edelman, but he didn't contribute to the Patriots like Edelman did.
Win a championship,
right? You know, didn't even just the history, the story of the team. Like Edelman exemplifies all of that more than a guy like Wes Welker.
I mean, is it wrong in team sports and Hall of Fame consideration to hold championships over, like clearly tennis? You're going to look at, well, this guy had X amount of Grand Slams. It's an individual sport that matters, but should it matter that a player was great like Calvin Johnson? I mean, you look at him, that's one of the all-time greatest football players.
I think Eli Manning's a perfect example.
Careful.
500.
No, I don't think it should matter. But it shouldn't matter in terms of getting into like Hall of Fames and stuff like that as much. It does matter when you're like comparing players though. Like you can never call Dan Marino the greatest quarterback of all time. He didn't win. You know, in basketball, like Charles Barkley gets made fun of constantly for the fact that he never won. So like, you know, those are things like you can't escape. Like if you don't win, you can't be considered one of the true greats of the greats, I don't think.
All right. Well, with that said, did you guys ever win a championship in your various athletic endeavors? Tease, I know you were an elite soccer player.
I got a conference one. Made it to I got conference dub.
Is that like a playoff win, or is that just record?
Well, like in college, like it's like you have to win it's like D1. You have to win your conference to then go to the big dance. So I didn't win the big dance, but conference title.
Conference, yeah. I won my last hockey game. That was pretty cool. That was the only championship. But I remember all the losses more than I probably remember the
losses.
The losses.
Watching seasons end on overtime goals. Like,
those scars.
that's it.
Those ones are the worst.
Oh my God.
No, I went down a rabbit hole.
Watching your own tape.
I did. Well, so I've always
I
said.
came in like Tuesday and Juice was like,
the greatest.
I just watched a lot of my old high
You got the VHS plugged in.
So the greatest. This is an off-season show, and Paul and Fred aren't here, so I don't care. But no, my greatest hockey game was against Travis Roy and Tabor Academy, and we won the game 4-3. And I, in my head, was always like, I was just in the zone that day. I was good. And so one day,
You watched the tape and you actually sucked.
He punched him.
I was like, I actually played great. I watched it, and I was like, no. I was like, I just was all over the place, and I was like, why couldn't I just play like this all the time? But it's all like the old guy reliving his sports glory and his sports career. But no, Travis Roy and I got into it a little bit, and I mean, he was a really scrappy, tough player, and I might have punched him in the back of the head. I didn't remember doing that, but I don't know. It was really fun for me though, going back and looking. I mean, hockey was everything to me growing up, and then to go back and kind of see your career again, and remembering old rinks and all that kind of stuff. So I know
There's not enough tape of me to watch. It's me sitting there on the bench waving.
I feel like I was like right at that like era. Like if you watch sports now, everybody has a phone out, and like I remember like
everyone has a huddle now. Like we didn't have that.
I didn't have that. Like
I should get my huddle going now.
There was like
a couple
boys basketball players and a couple boys football players I knew that would have huddles, but it wasn't like a common thing.
We had like max preps, but it's also like
and it's always wrong. Like you have to submit the stuff yourself. Like it wasn't like
even to get
now.
photos. My roommate's mom took the photos of the game because like schools at the time like they'd invest in a school photographer.
Right.
Keith Nordstrom, who shoots for the Patriots, shot with us. Eric went to my school, which is funny. I was like, you could have shot our games, but like,
or you have like an outside photographer that then like sends you a proof with like pay us for this.
Yeah, but now it's like kids like want to do this, which is awesome, and so they have students shooting the games,
shooting and covering them. Yeah.
Now you can make an Instagram page for me to get the school to go to our game. I had to make a Facebook page, be like, hey, come to this game. Like, a lot changed.
We went to tournaments.
Yeah.
And like I didn't like looking back on it, I don't think it was really the best because like if you didn't play well that specific day, then like there goes all your chances of like getting looks from schools. But like especially for lacrosse, but for basketball too, they had tournaments that like AAU style, and like there'd be like 50 teams there, so these coaches from D1 to D3 level would just come and just watch, and that's how it was back in before, all these technology things and stuff like that. And, but that it was hard because you'd play like multiple games in a day. And like, that might've been the only 15 minutes that coach had to watch you is in this one game. And you might've be getting killed. And then like, it's like, there goes that.
That might be coming back though, because I've seen now kids like AI their highlights.
Oh yeah.
So like a quarterback will like drop back.
No way.
And then it's like they'll add like 10 yards to the throw, which is insane.
Yeah. They put it on like 1.1 speed, or like a touch faster, but you can't.
At a different rate than
the untrained eye can't tell.
I've noticed too a lot of there's a lot of like young videographers. I feel like breaking into the game, going to various like high school sports, and
definitely
doing hype films for kids and making reels and all that. It seems like a way for young videographers to get into the game.
I love like these high school kids too, where even if they're not recruits, they're making their own graphics of like where they're going to school and like the decision.
Committed.
Hats on the table.
Yeah.
Right. Committed. Bridgewater State. Like, dude, you're fine. Let's go back to to the phone. Zach's in New Hampshire. Hey, Zach.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call.
For sure.
I was just wondering if the Patriots end up going receiver in the first round, who would be your ideal edge guy in the second round? Like Derek Moore, those type of guys.
Great question, Zach. Me and Ev were just talking about that, and I'll rattle them on. You said R. Mason Thomas.
Yeah.
You're Derek Moore.
Derek Moore, Akis.
Akis.
One of those.
You don't like R. Mason anymore?
He's fine. He's a little undersized, a little light for that position. I think he's also going to probably go like 47th or something like that. It's going to be like a weird spot for them to get their hands on him. Him and Malachi Lawrence are the two guys that I feel like are in the donut. Like, I don't really see how that's going to happen unless they like reach on one of them at 31, which feels like a reach. So I feel those two are in that, like, okay, if they were to, let's say they were to trade down, like we talked about the other day, and they go to 31 to like 39, maybe you start talking about drafting one of those guys there. But Akis or Derek Moore, either one. Like, I don't really have a preference. I think they're similar players, similar play style, similar position. So just whichever one you like.
Flavor. What's your flavor?
Yeah, like once they, this is the tiebreakers. Like once you get to know the guy, get them on the 30 visits, and learn about their backgrounds and stuff like that, then they can decide which guys more their culture fit.
Let's hop over to Sal in Hartford. Hey, Sal, thanks for calling in.
Hey, my pleasure. You guys do a great job with the show.
Thank you.
I'll just say this about the Hall of Fame that the Patriots have. Evan, you said the Hall of very good. It's really a popularity contest because you got fans voting. I would have preferred, I should say, to have seen the Hall of Fame done in the following fashion, where there's multiple players that can go in, or on some years nobody goes in, but it is based on really the stats of the player and not on, we prefer Edelman over Vinatieri, because there's a lot of recency bias. I mean, Vinatieri was vital to the success of the Pats, and I understand they kind of, did a hiccup on the year that Tom was inducted, and he didn't wait the time that everybody else waits. I don't know why they structured it this way. I really just a comment. That's not really so much a question. I think when you've got Adam and he's coming up against Gronk, it doesn't matter how well Gronk played. Ultimately, Adam, who's now in the NFL Hall of Fame, that the team's got to structure something where if you get into the NFL Hall of Fame and you're an iconic player with the team, like Adam was for all those championships, that the owner should be stepping in or just redo the process. I'll hear your comments off the air, and I thank you very much. You guys do a great job.
Thanks, Sal. I really appreciate it.
Deuce, I think what you said, though, like this is so unique to the Patriots that they have these iconic, greatest of all time level players at their positions that all played for the Patriots at the same time. Like that, not obviously the same time, but same era. Yeah. And I think that's very, very unique to the Patriots, which makes it hard when it comes to these types of things. I am not opposed to putting, let's say, 5 names on the ballot, 10 names on the ballot if you can get to 10, and if you have over 90% vote or 80% vote, that you can let in multiple, which is how they would do it for like the Baseball Hall of Fame.
You mean like two guys are like neck and neck, 40%,
right. So
40%.
Like let's say you put everybody that got nominated in the committee a couple weeks ago gets put on a ballot, and then the fans can vote for up to 3 of the 10 people that were nominated. And if those, if more than one person gets over a threshold, then you put multiple people in. If one person gets over the threshold, they go in. If nobody gets over the threshold, then nobody goes in. And like I wouldn't be totally opposed to that, because that's how they do a lot of other Hall of Fames. That's how it works. Yeah. So that's how the Pro Football Hall of Fame works too, as we got explained to us at the Super Bowl for about 45 minutes, where my eyes were starting to gloss over trying to follow all of it. But most Hall of Fames have that, like a ranked choice type of system like that.
I like that too, because it's not such a change that, all right, we're going to let 3 guys in every year now, and then we're going to get to 2030, and it's like, we ain't got 3 guys, you know, and then you have to change it again. So I think that's interesting. Let's grab one more call here before we take a break. It's Kelvin in Florida. Hey, Kelvin, thanks for calling in.
Hey, how you doing? I just had a question. Do you guys think the Patriots could draft Denzel Boston and get A.J. Brown and try and recreate something similar to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, where Denzel Boston is in that inside slot? He can go outside, kind of roll. And how do you think that would work out if they did do that?
Ooh, Kelvin, you're talking my language here. No, I just did a whole rant. We shot a video. I've come around on, not come around. I like Denzel Boston, and I'm not afraid that he's an N'Keal Harry guy. I don't know if they're going to go with him at 31st overall, but as I laid out to Evan in the video, I feel like he's a great match for Drake May. And, for a long-term companion, wide receiver, can I say that? Companion? A long-term companion. But he doesn't drop the ball. He's a red zone threat. Almost all his touchdowns were in the red zone. I just see him as a guy that can grow with Drake May, can be that, big-bodied. Every week, the other team, maybe, we talk about who's the guy you got to figure out. Now, I'm not saying like he's, Jamar Chase, where you're like, we got to double him, but he's the kind of guy that has the size that you're like, well, we got to figure out a plan, because if our short corner gets matched up on him in the slot, they're going to throw a fade, and it's going to be an automatic 6. So, I really like him. I like what the potential, and I think that's the question though, is can you take a receiver at 31 and still, find where next year's second? Are you going to trade that for AJ Brown?
Like, in my opinion, no. Like that. Now you're drafting a receiver in the first round. You're trading a high draft pick for AJ Brown, and you just paid Romeo Doubs, like all at the same time. And at some point you have to spend resources in other places that aren't just wide receiver. I know people. I think the caller is probably in the line of thinking of like, let's just solve this once and for all, and like stop worrying about it.
This isn't the year to do that.
But I think that you're getting one of a high draft pick or AJ Brown, because I think they really like Romeo Doubs. Like this isn't like to say anything, like they need more than that, because I think they really like Romeo Doubs. Now, is Romeo Doubs a true number one receiver? Probably not. But if you're pairing him with Denzel Boston, or you're pairing him with AJ Brown, like that's your 1-2 punch moving forward. And I just would be wary of investing that many resources in one position.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's an interesting difference, though, between if you draft a kid, you feel like you have some time. I know that you need him to produce and deliver immediately and show some promise at least, but you feel like, all right, we're in the process now. Like, whereas if you get AJ Brown, don't you feel like there's going to be immediate pressure to be like, this is it. We got AJ Brown. He's not going to, we got maybe 2 years, maybe 3, maybe even 1, like it was with Diggs, that
would be what
is ticking.
It would worry. I guess you're kind of saying what I'm saying. Like the mercenary thing would worry me, where it's like every other year, Drake May has a new number 1 wide receiver, because you're just kind of looking for mercenaries at the end of their careers that you can kind of latch onto, that have some star power and name recognition and that type of thing. So, last year it was Diggs, and next year it's going to be AJ Brown, and then we might revisit the AJ Brown thing at the end of the next year, and then the year after that it's going to be somebody different. And I don't think that that's necessarily the best way to go about it for Drake May. Now, if that person's revolving and Romeo Doubs is a hit and they really, really like him, then maybe he can be kind of the steady guy that grows with Drake May. He's only 25. Like maybe he can be the one that's here for the next 5-6 years as Drake May's guy. But I am a little bit wary of the gun for hire thing. Like we're just continuing to just rotate through number 1 wide receivers.
Well, it kind of fits into like coming off a Super Bowl. Like, how do you feel about this team? Do you feel like they went to a Super Bowl, the window is open, they need to do everything they can right now with Drake on a rookie contract to try to maximize and get back to the Super Bowl? Or do you feel like last year was an outstanding year, a little bit of an anomaly for multiple reasons of how they were able to get into that game? We're thinking more long-term. You have 3 of your wide receivers currently on the roster that are all going to be free agents next year. So even if you just have Doubs this year and you don't even draft a wide receiver or get A.J. Brown, you've got serious concerns at that spot for next year, whether you want to keep Booty and Hollins or and Pop, or let them go. So I feel like we'll come out of the draft and we'll have a little bit more sense of like their philosophy of like, are we continuing 100%. A slow, methodical build, which I think that's what their philosophy is. And maybe it's not, maybe it's both, can you split that and say, yes, we're going to continue to be methodical at certain positions that we're going to draft, but at the same time, we feel like you need immediate talent at wide receiver that you can look at AJ Brown walking through that door and say, we need you and Drake like on week 1, week 2, like they had with Diggs, where it really started to click. Where but if it was Boston, I'd be a little bit more like, okay, like let's get him involved, but you're gonna have Doubs and Boston to develop and grow with, and that's just a lot that's appealing to me about that. But anyway, we'll pick it up on the other side. We're gonna take a break, but first, Brent Workwear makes work boots and apparel that are built for the job site and is an official sponsor of the New England Patriots and the Gillette Stadium Field Crew. Their gear is comfortable, durable, and named after the real workers in the trades that helped design it. You can even try Brunt out on the job, and if it doesn't blow you away, they let you send it back. Save $10 on your first order at bruntworkwear.com/Pats or with the coupon code PATS. We'll see you after this.
Come welcome our newest restaurant additions at Patriot Place. Estella brings a celebration of flavors with a modern fusion menu, exciting cocktails, and brunch available daily beginning at 11 a.m. Enjoy freshly brewed coffee and Mediterranean-inspired breakfast and lunch from Angel's Cafe. Craving the classics? Chick-fil-A makes it easy to grab your favorite with mobile through, carry-out, and dine-in options. Download the Patriot Place Advantage app for special offers and to earn rewards every time you visit. Patriot Place. Shop, dine, enjoy.
The heaviest metal credit card of all time. Wielded at business dinners like a samurai sword. It's a classic corporate power move. But the real power move? Having end-to-end visibility on your most critical shipments. FedEx, the new power move.
Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right.
DraftKings is all about responsible gaming. It's more fun when it's for fun. So play responsibly. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction.
Just over 2 weeks to go till the NFL draft, and today we're talking about the offensive line. Let's do it.
With the 31st pick, the New England Patriots select.
Welcome, everybody, to Patriots Draft Countdown, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. And, guys, we're, as I said, just over 2 weeks away. Let's finally get into it. We got mock drafts. I think we're all getting a little bit of draft fatigue. A little bit of latest news, though, to discuss. Marty Mapu gets traded to Houston. Paul, why do they choose to make moves like this, a random 2 weeks before the draft?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't have a good answer for you. But I will say, just to, specifically with that position, obviously they were not happy with the depth because these guys are not making a tremendous amount of money. So there's not a lot of cash savings involved. But Jelani Tavai, Jack Gibbons, now Marty Mapu, and they only really signed KJ Britt as a replacement. So I would expect, as we move into, you said it's 2 weeks out, I would expect off-ball linebacker at some point in the draft. You need some depth, guys.
Yeah, talk to me, Ev. Well, give me some off-the-ball linebackers to look at here.
Well, I would say that it depends on what you're trying to do. Are you trying to get somebody that complements Robert Spillane, or are you trying to get somebody that replaces Robert Spillane? Because I think a lot of the guys that they moved on from are depth players or, backups, but if you're drafting somebody with the top 100 pick, that's not what you're projecting that player to be. So I think that's question number one. I know that there's a lot of guys at the top of the draft that people probably get excited about. Anthony Hill Jr., CJ Allen, Rodriguez, of course. I think that's a little bit high for what they are looking for. I think this is a pipeline pick, like we keep talking about it at several different positions, where you're probably drafting somebody with the idea maybe this year he's the third guy behind Ellis and Spillane that develops into hopefully a larger role. So looking at the board, I think that's when you start to get into third, fourth round, Aiden Fisher, Bryce Bocher from Oregon, those types of players. And then maybe, if you're looking for more of those athletic, weak side guys, Kyle Lewis, Harold Perkins, somebody like that. So depends on which way you want to go. I'll throw out one more name that I just think is a Vrabel type of player, and that's Jake Goldie from Cincinnati, who just plays angry, plays with his hair on fire, plays downhill, full tilt. That's an effort and finish. The words they always use are effort and finish and violence.
Yeah.
And that's a guy that plays violently and could probably use some seasoning, in terms of play processing and development, that sort of thing. So having a year behind Robert Spillane to sort of learn the ropes wouldn't be terrible.
Yeah, maybe KJ Britt can play some snaps too. I mean, he's done that a little bit as some depth. But Tease, I want to check in with you because we talk on PU all the time. Where are you at with this draft? Who do you like? What's going on at 31st overall for you?
I like Zion Young, the edge rusher, but there's only I'd trade up for Sadiq. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's just I just look back at other drafts and I think the Patriots got lucky that we picked early when we did. There's some top talent guys, but you really can't go wrong at 31. Yeah. So I'm thinking trade back or Zion Young, but be safe.
It's tough. It's tough to figure out at 31. I mean, we've been lamenting it all week. So, guys, we're going to talk offensive line today. That's what the show's about. Maybe we can set the table up a little bit here, Paul, because we have talked about it on the shows. Morgan Moses, long-term need, perhaps. Michael, when you entering the last year of his deal, how do you see this need here?
So I think it's kind of what Evan's talking about. Are you specifically looking for someone to start right away in case, something happens to one of your tackles, or are you looking for depth? So that's where 31 comes into play. If you're looking for a guy who can potentially be a starter, I think you're going to need to take him there, because if you want to wait till day 2 or day 3, probably you're looking at a career backup. Now, I'm not telling you there are no exceptions at tackle. You can get starters on the interior. So your Michael Onwenu situation, Mike, I think you could get someone, they have all those, a couple of 4th-round picks, 4 6th-round picks. Take a flyer or two on offensive linemen and see if you can develop some depth.
Yeah.
Case for 31. Tackle at 31.
I don't want to go too long because I think I went 2 hours on the offensive line preview of this show. So it's already going to be a long one. But yeah, I think that Paul nailed it. There's a gap of talent in a class like this where, Ian Achor, Blake Miller, Caleb Lamu, if you want to put him in there, are those end of the first round kind of guys. Then after those guys, in terms of tackles, pure tackles, I don't know if there's going to be another one drafted until the 3rd round. So you're probably going to have about, a 50 pick gap between tackles. And then I think once you get into that next wave in the end of the 3rd round, Crownover, Bowery, Bell, all those guys are going to start coming off the board in a short period of time. So to me, it's either you're going early or, you're throwing multiple darts. Give me 2 or 3 of these guys on day 3 and hopefully someone develops out of that group. Going back to Mike Onwenu's draft, that's what they did that year. They drafted multiple day 3 linemen and they ended up hitting on one of them. So maybe that's the way to go this time too.
All right, well, let's jump into it. Tackles, guards, not so much centers. We got it all covered. Check it out. All right, at long last, it's time to talk about the offensive line, or as Evan Lazar calls it, the most important position in the draft. Is that correct, Evan?
I believe it is. And I think it was...
for the Patriots, for everyone.
For everyone. Mike Vrabel said it the other day at the league meetings. The league has a dearth of offensive line talent right now. And I would say it's not just the talent itself, it's also developing that talent once it gets to the NFL level. And we're at a point in time where I don't even know if there's 5 starting caliber players on some teams, let alone teams that have valuable backups to those players. So I think this is a league-wide issue that however we do it, I don't know. Mike Vrabel would probably have a better plan than me, but you have to find a way to not only identify talent better on the offensive line, but I think more specifically develop talent better on the offensive line because it's a problem. And we want to protect these quarterbacks. They're the lifeblood of the league. They are the most valuable players in the league. And for the Patriots case, you want to protect Drake May for hopefully the next 15 to 20 years of his Patriot career. And it's just a problem that there's just not enough good guys to do it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about where the Patriots stand.
Let's talk about all the bad ones
right now. Where they stand right now, of course, traded Garrett Bradbury. Looks like they're going to switch Jared Wilson over to center, as he was probably drafted to do. Signed Elijah Vera Tucker Paul, who has had some injuries, but if he's healthy, he's ready to go. Could be a really good player for them. Everybody's saying Will Campbell's going to stay at left tackle, but I think the 2 issues for me that I kind of look at are Mike Onwenu, maybe entering the last year of his deal, depending on what they're going to do, and then Morgan Moses, just with his age. They got all the games out of him last year. They took steps to manage him, but as you look at this position group, Paulie, how do you see it kind of stacking up as far as need?
Yeah, for the Patriots, I think that the improvements have been made. I don't think this tackle group doesn't overly impress me. That's just me. So, I think everybody can look at things and come away with different impressions. I agree with the way you unfolded the whole thing, Mike. I think that there's some lack of depth, and it's going to be sooner than later because, Morgan Moses is going to be 35 years old, so he's not going to play forever. You need someone in the pipeline at tackle. If it's a swing tackle, whatever. They signed James Hudson, as a potential veteran swing tackle, but certainly no sure thing. So they could be in the market here early on in the draft to get a tackle. But as you guys have been telling me for a couple of weeks now, if you don't get a tackle in the first round, there's probably not a great candidate in day 2 or certainly beyond at tackle specifically. So it's a tough needle to thread.
Yeah, we have seen some mock drafts where, maybe it's a guy like Blake Miller coming to the Patriots there, 31st overall. I mean, I think we could kind of make that argument. I don't know if it's exactly the move that we would all want to make, Chris.
Yeah.
But let's first just kind of mention these guys up at the top that they're probably not, going to have a chance at. Of course, Maui Noah, huge player. I mean, and that's kind of, I feel like, a theme. There's like a lot of big dudes. And makes you wonder, like, are they athletic enough? Can they develop their feet? That kind of thing. But I see that as a little bit of a theme to this class.
Yeah, definitely. I think just the classes, Mono's, he's one of those guys, especially at that tackle position, who is he's your raw talent guy. Like, he's just going to carry in a lot of categories there of what somebody would want. I mean, he's projected top 10 pick in the draft, potentially. And, someone's going to get real lucky with him because I think he's the best all-around offensive lineman in this draft, just my opinion.
Yeah, and a lot of experienced guys, too. I mean, he's a 3-year starter, Ev.
Yep.
They got the 2 Utah guys. You got those as bookends. And Monroe Freeling from Georgia, another one.
Yeah.
I saw somebody's ranking say he had him as the number 1 overall.
And now, great moments in history.
Right. If they didn't have joint practices, I think this 3 would be a 3.
Do you know the difference between a joint and a blunt and a spliff?
I heard this today.
I heard a little of that talk today. I didn't know what a blunt was. I had to have it explained to me, and I don't know if I still know.
Isn't a blunt a rolled cigarette?
Oh, it's a rolled cigar.
Rolled cigar.
Joint is in paper. A spliff is mixed tobacco and weed.
Is it now? Like in The Gentleman? That's what he makes himself a nice 50-50 mix.
Now, is it pronounced? It's a spliff.
Spliff, yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was spliff.
Spliff. Oh, spliffy if you want.
Pronounced spliff. Spliffy. Now, as I understand it, Matthew, it's pronounced spliff. Is that correct?
Drugs are bad.
Okay. Yeah. No, I did. I learned a little something today listening to Hardy and Arcand.
But the blunt is marijuana pot dope, as you would acquire and enjoy it. But the blunt itself is actually just the roll. Is that
correct? It's just different names for the way
you wrap
you're
it in
smoking.
tobacco.
What about the chronic?
Oh, you.
Chronic's the type of marijuana.
I mean, I lived in California.
What about the White Widow Super Cheese? What is that now? What is the stickiest of the icky? I need to know.
What about the chronic?
That's another great moment from
It's a little Hardy flashback there.
That was incredible.
That conversation put weed education back 20 years.
Well, it's not quite 420 yet, but we're getting there. We're getting close. Welcome back to Patriots Unfiltered here. We're kicking off hour 2 and little video to share. Ev, maybe you should tee this up. We told this story a couple weeks ago here on Patriots Unfiltered. Evan and I went and were part of the draft preview party here at Gillette Stadium, and we had the chance to meet a really passionate Patriots and Patriots Unfiltered fan named Booker, who showed Evan his notebook of research and everything. It was really cool. He had a T-shirt that we had all signed. We were all like, "Oh my God, no one wants to see us here," but Booker wanted to see us. So thank you, Booker, for making us feel like somebody actually cared that Evan and I were at the party. But then, in the middle of our panel, Damian Harris was nice enough to call Booker up. So we've got a quick video sound clip here of Booker, and you'll get to hear him profess his Patriots Unfiltered love.
What were you doing? Take us through your process.
I was probably listening to Patriots Unfiltered. But I didn't really watch a lot of film. I maybe looked at the combine.
Didn't watch a lot of film. So that was Booker making a little shout out to us. I thought that was cute.
It was
Just wanted
great.
to share it. Appreciate
It was
him.
great. They those like school notebooks, like he had one of those. What are they called? With like the checkered like
graph paper.
Yeah, no, it was like the notebooks with like the checkered front to it and everything. And he opens it up and like honestly, I said to his mother, I was like, this was literally me at this age. Like this is like I'm looking at myself. And so she was super into it. I feel bad for Booker though because we used to have things like draft breakdown and things like that where before YouTube like licensing became a big deal, people would just push cut-ups on YouTube of players that were like not highlight reels but like a full game of like, you know, this player versus a certain team, and you could just type the player into YouTube and like be able to watch film like on the player. And now YouTube and all these places have cracked down on all that type of stuff, so that it doesn't exist as much. But it was cool to just see a young draft nerd like myself just plugging away. He had
passionate thoughts
everything.
about. I think it was Anthony Hill Jr.
Yeah, he had
one of
like
his
combine
guys,
measurements,
like,
and
right?
PFF grades, and like all like everything that it was cool.
Cool. Well, thank you, Booker. Appreciate it, and hopefully your
composition notebook.
Yeah,
composition notebook.
Yeah, you used to buy them in like packages of 3 or
You
whatever.
threw me off with like the checkered.
Yeah,
thing.
it's like you know,
I thought you meant
it's
graph
like-
paper
Yeah,
too.
Me too.
Alex is a graph paper girl.
I am a graph
she turned
paper
me on to
girl.
graph paper this
I like
past
to
weekend.
draw.
So we got some emails here. Let's run over to those. Good questions coming in, and this one's from Rob from the UK. I thought on Tuesday's show, the poor drafting at the end of Bill's career was discussed. What do you think that was down to? Was it more Bill not trusting people, the scouting department reports, ego, thinking his way was the only way to do it, or all of his trusted voices having left all of this? It's a great question, the debate of why did they all of a sudden just start missing on, and you know, with the release of Marty Mapu, it's another draft class. We see it all the time on our social media where they show you the draft class and then
that makes you not value
most of them are lined out.
Really makes you not value picks. Like, oh, well, they can't give up a third for A.J. Brown. Well, it could be a linebacker from Sacramento State. Are you sure you don't want to make that?
If you draft well, it won't be, But yeah, they, I don't know. I think that the main reason to me that there was a disconnect was that there's a difference really between like coaching and scouting. And I think that Bill just would kind of swoop in at the end, in January when the season, or February when the Patriots season would end, and just start making decisions about guys that the scouts had been scouting all the way from the prior spring, and all the way through. And they had this whole, birth of information, and he had this much information and they had that much information, and they were drafting on this much information. And for whatever reason, it just kind of ran dry and he wasn't able to replicate it. I would also say, from what I observed, like early on in Bill's career, I think he might have had like the stamina to put that much effort into it. And then as it kind of got older, I don't know if Bill Belichick had the stamina to be Bill the GM and be Bill the coach by 2021, 2022, 2023. I think that it was a lot to ask of a 60, 70-year-old man at that point.
How much do you think Ernie Adams had to do with all that process?
Ernie Adams, I would say, was more about sorting the board than it was so much scouting the board. Like he was big on their grading system and the color coded and the numbers and the letters and the colors and pink stripes and like all that kind of stuff. I don't know if Ernie Adams was necessarily like turning the tape on and finding the players. He was kind of organizing the players on the board. I would say, another big one to me would be Nick Caserio. Like I think Nick Caserio started to get the respect of Bill to give him some of the reins to the operation on the scouting side. And I don't know if they never really developed a guy that Bill, I think, felt 100% comfortable with giving as much responsibility to, like he did Nick Caserio.
Yeah, Caserio's done pretty well in Houston too. In
yeah,
his drafts,
I mean the 23 draft ended up being fine. Like obviously you pick Gonzo at the top, that helps. But they picked Gonzo. Keon White, Demario Douglas, and Kayshon Boutte were in that draft.
Behringer.
So, they've had worse drafts than 2023. That's for sure. Like, that one was, especially with Gonzo, I would say that was probably steers towards a good draft.
Which, how close do you think they came to not taking him?
Yeah, fair. But I think between him
He's
and
right there. Just take
him.
him. He's
and the
there.
day
Thing,
three
it's like, who
receivers.
expected
I remember
him to
texting
be
you
there?
during that, being like, you need to take him at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
That's, Bevan and I both writing about him like, he'll be long gone. There's no way he's making it.
I think it's funny, too, because
Still makes no sense to me.
the picks, Gonzo was a home run. And I remember in real time feeling the picks through rounds 2 through 5. I was like, okay, now we're back on Bills BS, right? Like Keon White, Marte Mapu, Chad Ryland in the 4th round.
Which ended up being a great pick,
Yeah.
by the way.
Oh, yeah, great pick. City
It's not for us.
You missed the kick.
Mafi, like all those guys in the middle rounds. And then I remember day 3, I was pretty upset. I was in the dumps. I was down. And then they hit me with the back-to-back Keyshawn Booty, Demario Douglas. And I was like, and I'm back.
Yeah.
Like, there we go.
They took Pop. You were excited.
At the time, it felt like those were the picks I liked. And I'm not doing this to pat myself on the back. It's just it's a consensus thing, right? Where like you pick players that made sense where you picked them, and who were the ones that worked out? Christian Gonzalez, Keyshawn Booty, and Pop Douglas. Like that just is kind of how it works.
Do you think if Bill was in charge of the 24 draft, Drake May's our quarterback?
No, they would have traded down.
That's what I think too, and I think that's the issue.
You think so?
Yes.
Yeah, he would have taken
the way Bill talked about him.
He would have
Yeah,
traded
but
down.
did he talk about Drake like that because he was salty with us? Or like, would he actually
I
have
don't know.
felt like that?
No.
I think we might have been with a 9 situation.
Because I'm pretty sure that he talked about Drake May before he was even drafted. Poorly. About his mechanics and his footwork and his pro readiness and all that kind of stuff. No, that's a trade down and draft like some random non-quarterback that in the top 10 and then like, oh, but we got all these extra picks. He
Which then
doesn't know
you
what to do with.
draft the random linebacker from Sacramento State.
There
It
you
doesn't
go.
matter.
Well, hopefully, I mean,
Poor Marte
that's
Mapu.
just, it's the simplest
Hey,
thing
he
to
held
me.
on for a little. He did.
Well, I mean, he hopped right in like 2 years ago and just played the whole game. But that's
I still
everything.
think they developed him at the wrong position.
Yeah.
And that's not his fault.
Did you tell him that before he left?
He knows.
A couple of more emails here. Just Tyler thinks it should, instead of Patriots, the kids show, it should be Patriots Unfiltered, Young and Restless. So I'm not young. I don't know if you guys are restless, but
You're young at heart.
and we'll work sure.
I feel like I'm still at the kids table because like family
default?
family wise because like I'm like my parents and like my aunts and uncles and stuff like that are still technically the adults in the house, but now like my sister like I have my nephew and my cousins have kids and like so it's like now we're in the middle,
Like
you
the
know,
weird no man's land.
yeah, like,
Sounds like you and Jess have to pop out some kids so you
No.
can
Yeah, there you
graduate.
go.
absolutely not.
There you go.
But there's this weird middle ground, right? Of like you're not the adults, but you're no longer the youngest ones at the Thanksgiving either. Now you're just like in this middle purgatory of weirdness.
I'm gonna grab one more email here, just 'cause I feel bad about this one. Jay, he's from a log cabin in Holliston, where I grew up. After years of searching for the arsonist who burned down my childhood home, I can finally thank the PU crew for finally providing some closure. Sorry about that, Jay. I didn't know you were living in a 15 square foot dilapidated log cabin in the middle of the woods in between Millis and Holliston. But sorry about that. But as penance, I need Mike to answer this question. Mike, you guys identified early in the season the biggest weakness on defense was tight end defense, with the loss of multiple linebacker depth. Which moves can be made to improve this gap? Is this something that can be adjusted with an updated game plan from Zach Core, drawing up from the defense from the start? And last, he wanted to admonish me for signing off Tuesday's show. I was looking forward to Fred ending each show as if we all overstayed our welcome in his living room. All right, slap Snee. It's over. Get home and get out of here. It's a good question. I would just tee up, Ev, that we talked a little bit about, you know, some of the different linebackers, some of the different safeties. You know, can they blur the lines a little bit between those position groups a little bit? I mean, they want guys who can run either way, right? So I don't think it should be a huge issue. I mean, I don't know if that was the biggest issue, though. I just think pressure off the edges is something that I would say that I would most like to get that fired up and you know, better.
Yeah, I feel like this defense is much less fluid in terms of like there's no hybrids anymore.
Right.
So like we don't have like the Jelani Tavai on the ball, off the ball hybrids. We don't have the hybrid safeties anymore that are playing at the second level, but also playing some safety. And doing that sort of thing. This defense, like I kind of feel like you know the levels to it. Like these are the defensive linemen, these are the second level guys, these are the safeties and the back end guys. Which I think is in a lot of ways simplifies things. Like even watching them on tape, I feel like it was easier to like understand what they were kind of doing because there wasn't as much blurred lines of like, this guy's kind of, doing a bunch of different things. So, that should be making it easier in theory to scout in some ways because like you kind of know what our safeties do, what our linebackers do, what our D tackles do. But I don't know if that's an answer, but like that's sort of how I felt about it. Was it's more rigid in terms of what exactly each position is
You might
doing.
just have to like drink the poison with, you're gonna have. There's some things you have to skimp on a little bit, and you say, look, we love how it is, and we're gonna be great against the run, but this is gonna be a weakness that we're gonna have to, maybe work around. Guys, I don't think I've ever seen the phones stacked up this much. So we gotta start getting through some of these calls.
They are officially fixed.
The phones are officially fixed, and all the lines are working.
So it's been the phones were not working, which is why
about the last 5 years.
The last 2 days is why we got because
calls.
Yesterday on Catch 22 we went the first hour without a call.
Yeah,
and I was
that's
I was like, guys, like what's going on?
I mean,
where are our people?
What are we doing? Let's jump back. Looks like Sean in Vancouver called back in. Hey, Sean, thanks for calling back.
Hey, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. I have two questions. One, if an A.J. Brown trade happens, it'll be after June 1st, and we don't know if it'll happen, but do the Patriots know? My second question is, could the Pats possibly trade their first-round 2026 pick and their second-round 2027 pick to a team like the Cardinals for their 2026 second-round pick and their 2027 first-round pick?
Oh.
I'll leave you on that.
You're gonna have to draw that on a board for me or something like they do in the draft room. The AJ Brown thing, I highly doubt that they have some like it across the finish line, but I'm sure they have a general idea of whether or not that's a real possibility. Yeah. Like I don't think there's any handshake deal or under the table wink wink nudge nudge, but my guess is that they've talked about parameters or framework of a deal and would be in or not in, depending on what that number is.
The leverage of it all interests me because, the Patriots do or don't draft a guy. It maybe changes how the Eagles view them. And, are parameters in place, or is it the kind of thing, well, we got to see after the draft how we're feeling. Maybe the Eagles are trying to draft a potential replacement for A.J. Brown as well.
That's a big one, too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might still be fluid. And I just know if I was the Patriots, I wouldn't want to sit there and let the Eagles think that you've got my second-round pick next year all wrapped up already. I'd make them sweat it out a little bit. And, I think some of the moves that they've made, like, it makes me feel like they don't know for sure yet either. But
how much are you trusting Howie Roseman's word, too? Like, even if you feel like you have an agreement, if June 2nd comes around and another team that didn't get the receiver they wanted in the draft has a change of heart on A.J. Brown, and now all of a sudden you get outbid out of nowhere by Buffalo or something, and you lose the player.
Yeah.
I think you got to be wary of that too.
Well, let's keep going through these phones. Rudy in Stanford, you're up. What's up? Rudy. We got a little bit of a hole, but we got plenty of people waiting.
You also didn't answer the guy's Cardinal question.
I'm going to let him go.
Which question?
The Cardinal.
How was I supposed to keep track of that? I don't know.
What was the Cardinal question?
It was we trade our 2026 first for their second. And then it's vice versa.
It's too complicated.
Yeah, no.
I need a board somewhere. Patty and Agawam, you won't let us down. What's up?
What's up, lady and gents?
Hello.
So glad you guys are getting in on the AJ Brown thing. I've been on record. I don't want him. I don't want to keep going into this mercenary wide receiver pool every couple of years and, having to trade for guys, giving up assets for guys that are in their late 20s that could possibly, in his specific case, have a degenerative knee problem. I don't know if that's real or not, but just the thought of it scares me. My big picture question regarding that is I saw a couple articles over the weekend, and I don't know why I do this to myself and torture myself, but I think the Sporting News had an article about the Cardinals might be looking to move Marvin Harrison Jr. Don't ask me why, but they might be. And I also saw in the Bleacher Report more Brian Thomas Jr., stuff start up again. And I guess the big question is, would it make more sense to try and acquire a guy like that, like the younger guys, and sign him to an extension and have them here and have them grow with Drake May than a diminishing asset? Because call it what it is. Brown, if he comes here and he's here for 2 years, on the second year he's going to be 30, and I don't know how much more production you're going to get out of him. That's all I got, guys. I'll take it out there.
I'm not going to do the Brian Thomas Jr. thing. Like, until there's actual hard reporting that he's available, I don't think he's available. I hear you on AJ Brown. We've been saying it the whole show. Like, it'd be a good time, not a long time. That's what it would be. But,
I hear him. It's more of a growing sentiment too. I've heard this more and more. I
think people are just sick of talking about it.
But how long has it been? Like, everything I go on where you talk about AJ Brown, I'm like, I feel like we've been talking about him literally since they didn't draft him. Like, he wanted to come here and he had the video outside, and that it's been since then.
I just want to talk about the mercenary thing. Like, that doesn't matter if you win. Like, for example, Stephon Diggs, technically mercenary, but if we won last year, sweet. I kind of look at like the Rams in 22 or 23 when they won. They gave up all their picks. Like, that stuff doesn't matter if you win.
Right.
So if you get AJ Brown and you win within the next 2 years, doesn't matter.
And I'd say if you draft well and you get AJ Brown and you give up a second round, like, I don't really want to give up a first round, but you give up a second round, it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't really think you're setting yourself back as long as you continue to draft well and you hit on a couple day 3 guys maybe. That's what you need to do to keep the cupboard stacked. But look, we just listed off all the picks that teams miss on all the time. So it's not like they're so valuable, but there is a sense of you got to throw a lot at the wall to get those hits, and you need to have a couple where you just thread the needle. And it was like, man, there was one tight end that wasn't that highly regarded, but they found this guy, and all of a sudden, they took a chance on this Rob Gronkowski kid. Now he's one of the best players.
Is it just us being hurt too many times? The Cole Stranges, N'Keal Harry, is that like the first
No,
round
I
pick?
just think that, honestly, we've been talking about trading for AJ Brown all off season, and eventually it just kind of gets old, and people are just kind of tired of it. I would just say the one thing that makes me want to trade for AJ Brown is Drake May. Like, I don't want it to have to be super hard on Drake May. I want him to build off of the year he had last year. I think we saw in the playoffs that the regular season stats were probably a little bit inflated based off of who they played, and it's going to be harder for him next year. Teams are going to be gunning for him. They're going to have game plans for him. It's a much tougher schedule, and if you don't give him enough weaponry to go out there and if you make him go to a gunfight with a little switchblade, then he's going to be in trouble. And if that leads to regression, then that's the worst possible thing that could happen. So even if AJ Brown's here just to make sure that Drake May keeps the arrow pointing upward, I think it's worth it, even if it's not for the next 5 years.
Yeah, don't bring knives to a gunfight. It's very true. Let's head down to Penn State. Spencer calling in. Hey, Spencer, thanks for calling.
Hey, for taking my call. My question is, in talking about a lot of these tackles, like Blake Miller and Ianachor, how do these guys stack up to Will Campbell when he was a prospect? Because part of me thinks if it's really kind of not much of a difference, how much better off would we have been last year taking a guy like Tet McMillan at 4 and then riding it out with Vidarian Lowe or something, and then this year taking a tackle who, has the fall like Will Campbell, like the arm length or something like that. Anyway, thanks for taking my call, guys.
Thanks, Spencer.
Yeah, the Tet McMillan thing is fair. It's a fair second guess after the year that Tet had. I mean, he was great for Carolina. I would say Will Campbell, his pro readiness at a young age was rare. It made him a really highly touted prospect. His ability, they kind of all knew all along that he was going to be able to start right away as a rookie, and that's not easy to do at that position. So you got a guy in here that, especially compared to Ianachor, was way more pro ready and ready to step in instantly. So if you wouldn't, I don't think you would have been picking 31 if you hadn't drafted Will Campbell necessarily. But let's say everything else goes the same exact way. If you're picking Ianachor now at 31, he's 2 years away. So like you still haven't solved the left tackle, even maybe for 2026, because he's in a developmental year. I think Will Campbell's floor as a player and his pro readiness is what got him drafted in the top 10. Some of these other guys might have more, obviously length, athleticism. Will Campbell's athleticism is great, but the length is the big one. The pro readiness is really what made him appealing for most teams, and it being pro ready at 22 years old too, which is not common. So I think that was all a part of it. He's actually 21, I think, when he was drafted. So
here's a fun one for us to debate. Since it's the kids show and the Great White Snark isn't there to be the harpoon of fun, I figured I'd ask the gang. All right, the first one's a hot dog or sandwich. We can debate that. But the better one I like, more football related. If Fred and Paul were opposing head coaches of equally talented teams, who would win that game?
I'm giving that one to Paul.
Yeah, same.
Paul Brillo, School of Clock Management.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
I go with Fred. I would go with Fred.
Because you think he would rally the troops?
The rah-rah coach.
He would know what buttons to push on Paul to get him off his
So
games.
he'd get Paul kicked out.
He would bait Paul probably into like yelling at the ref and getting kicked out.
I wasn't thinking about it
But Fred
like
also
that,
seems like one of those people, and this was kind of my college roommate, who's just like, he's kind of like sneaky good at everything, and you're like, you can't quite like figure out why. Like we play tennis, like how are you good at tennis? Or we play like ping pong, and he's good at ping pong. Like Fred seems like one of those people. That's probably a bad example when talking about Fred. But I think he's generally good at things like that. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Freddie on that
Fred's
one.
a really out of the box thinker too.
Right?
The leadership is not one that I didn't consider. I was more thinking, no offense, football acumen.
No. If it came down to a close game, Paul would be like,
I was giving that to Paulie, but now that I think about it, Fred kind of leads a team here and has
like Fred would be like, call heads, but then when they flip, be like, no, I call tails. Like it's like just get some kind of controversy brewing, and Paul would be like, you can't do that. What's he doing? Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Let's head back to the phones. Charles in Connecticut. Hey, Charles. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, first-time caller here.
Sweet.
Just wanted to see who the heck is covering tight ends this coming year. Who's going to cover them?
That's a good question. Thank you. Appreciate it. We talked about that a little bit.
Are we hoping? Do they have an issue with that? I guess that's what my question is. It was an issue early on in the year, and I guess you could say AJ Barner was an issue in the Super Bowl. I thought they kind of had figured that out though as the course of the year, and kind of like we were just talking about with that email before. I don't. This is not it's not a Belichick defense where you have like a Patrick Chung whose like job it is to cover a tight end. They kind of do it more by committee, and they play a lot more zone than those defenses did naturally anyways. So when people ask me like who covers tight ends, I'm kind of like, well, I don't know. All the linebackers and safeties are going to have times where they're going to be on a tight end.
Right.
So it's a little bit different than what it was before.
It's just one of those ones, again, like going back to the scheme of it all. Like, I don't know if you're like, instead of a Robert Spillane type who you love shutting down the run, getting guys in position, doing that, at a certain point, like there aren't a lot of linebackers that can run with tight ends down the seam and take that, like Fred Warner. Like, there's some that can.
Fred Warner.
But, but they're rare. And like you said, you kind of have to, it's almost like I look at when you pay the team, like you're going to have to choose some places. You're not going to give every position group top of the market dollars. You're going to have to skimp somewhere. You're going to have to choose. In our system, we're going to pay a little bit less to this spot, or, not to make it about money, but just you're going to try to upgrade Spillane just because you want to make sure you got a guy who can cover tight ends. It seems really hard to me. But
I just feel like it's different. Like with Belichick's defenses, they had specific roles. They of this guy. We used to call him tight end stoppers, like guys like Chung, Kyle Duggar, early on in his career. I think Mapu was drafted to be one of those guys. It just didn't work out. Like that was a specific role because they played so much man coverage. So like you needed a player that had the body type and the skill set to play man-to-man against the tight end. I don't think this defense really treats it the same way or looks at it the same way. So they kind of, I think, want the back seven to all be able to cover different types of people. I think they probably have their safeties cover receivers a little bit more than Belichick ever did. Mm-hmm. That sort of thing too. So who covers tight ends? I think everyone that plays in the middle of the field is going to have to cover a tight end at some point in time.
Paul from New Jersey is giving us a deep pull on a draft guy for Evan. All right, Kevin. Okay. He wants to know if you've seen any takes on Keegan Trost, the right tackle from Missouri. He played left and right tackle for Wake Forest before transferring, and he only allowed one sack in 432 snaps.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a guard though. But yes, I've seen a little bit of his tape. He's on my list to dig into him a little bit more before the draft. But most people have him listed as an inside player. I know that, so probably not going to stick at tackle.
All right, let's do it. We got a donut on the line. Boston Cream. These are always fun. Hey, Boston Cream, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, with the New Balance partnership, does this mean it's an end of an era for Rob Kraft's Air Force Ones? And will we see any sort of collabs sold on?
Ooh.
I think you're gonna have to. I don't know if we're allowed to break that news.
That's a good question. I'm not sure, but I do know that this partnership with New Balance is a pretty big deal. They're putting the big sign up on the side of the training facility. But I think how it all plays out with the NFL's current deal with Nike seems a little bit complicated. I don't know. I don't know what the status is of the Air Force Ones. You got any Air Force Ones, Tees?
No, Air Force Ones?
Yeah.
I had a pair back in the day. Black
The
Air Force
RKK
Ones.
ones?
Black Air Force Ones.
They're always sharp. I
They're so uncomfortable.
I can't wear Nikes.
I have a pair for the My Cause, My Tees.
Yeah.
And they're just like, they're awesome shoes, but they're just not that comfortable.
I haven't had Air Force Ones since like 4th grade.
Yeah, I had a couple Air Force Ones.
I'm more of an Air Max 90s kind of guy.
I'm not a Nike
I feel like
girl.
we've all like.
You guys
we're
know
all
I hate Nike.
We're all getting older, and I feel like was like screw it, and like now we're wearing Air Maxes or Metcons or whatever.
You know what are coming
more
back, I think?
comfortable.
Do you remember Nike Shocks?
Oh, yeah.
No, those aren't comfortable.
Like
yes, they are.
ones.
Yes,
Yeah.
they
Or
are.
you get the Reebok
Mark my
pumps.
words. Mark my
See, I had
words.
the
Next
pumps.
year.
That's what
But Air Force, they also used to be like $60, and now they're like $170, which is
Yeah.
insane. It's just a blank white shoe.
It's out of your price range.
It's this
For Air Forces, yeah.
It's the iconicness.
No, I was spoiled growing up with my dad with a Reebok. Like it was just free shoes, and I had the pumps. All the basketball players in high school hated me because they're like, "Why do you have the pumps?" And they're like, "Well, can you get me some?" And then remember people like pumping them up before class and like
it had no
Like get more bounce.
It had no like real use
Oh, yeah.
to it. It
Oh,
was
yeah,
a
yeah.
practical use. Like they were just cool.
I had the pump skates too. Like
Yeah.
they had pump skates. Then they had like the Insta Pump, which like you had to get a CO2
Okay,
card.
whatever you did with their
pump them
over
up.
there, you keep
Probably
it
the
yourself.
worst pair of Reeboks / best pair of Reeboks I had though is huge fan of the movie Aliens. Shout out Matt Morrell, 86. And Reebok was the official shoe of Aliens, which is set in hundreds of years in the future. They're still
That
wearing
makes no
they're
sense.
still wearing Reeboks. You'll notice some select shots in that of when Ripley's like clicking into the machine and getting ready. You can see the Reeboks. But I had a pair of the things, and they were you probably Google them. I mean, they're giant Velcro like space boots. And I had them, and I loved the movie, so I'm walking around all cool.
Should have
and
left
like,
those
what
in the
hell?
box. It might have been worth something now.
I think they took them back out. I think they're back on sale somewhere.
I had
Yeah, you can
Reebok
get them.
basketball sneakers one year, like the Zig Tex.
Reebok
those had a
was
little
big
moment.
basketball sneaker.
I had.
Are they still around?
I had basketball sneakers. I really liked.
It is still
Yeah.
around. It is still. I got.
Is it still around?
No, not right now. I don't. I have Nikes on right now, but no, it is. It's much smaller now. I think Adidas owns them.
Adidas.
When I interned at Reebok, everyone called it Adidas. I think is that like a Europe thing? Does everybody in
Yeah,
Europe?
the
call it
owner was Adi Dassler.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, what are they talking about? Adidas?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was Reeboks. I just feel like my feet were formed in those. Some of the.
Are they still based in Boston? Or their HQ?
I think they might be. I think they might be in the.
I think
somewhere in,
their
like, South
CEO or some executive of Reebok lives on one of the holes of the country club
Oh,
in
is it
Brookline.
Paul Fireman?
I don't know.
Might be.
All I know is when we went there for
US
the
Open.
U.S. Open,
Yeah.
we did like a practice round that I finagled my way into with Hoyer and Cardona, and we did a practice round, and our caddy was just the coolest guy ever. But he was like, "Oh yeah, that's the owner of Reebok's house through there.
Yeah.
On this hole, that's Tom Brady's old house right through there." So
Still in Boston.
I'm like with my binoculars.
The cool thing at Reebok, when I worked there a couple summers, like in high school,
New
is everybody had to have the Shaq
Punching
shoe.
air right now that we're talking about Reebok.
I love everyone
Oh, it's
that
a small
follows
company.
me
They're not
on
even a
social
competitor
media
anymore.
knows I'm a New Balance girl for life. I love New Balance.
Back in the day, the Reeboks, I want to say, I think T-Max were Reebok. Those are big.
Yeah, the Shaq. Everybody had to have the Shaq shoe. Right?
Yeah,
Like, the giant 22.
I was never a
monster.
Shaq shoe guy, but definitely had a pair of T-Max, which I think were Reebok.
Yeah.
I think Allen Iverson's
AI, yep.
his shoe, and it had his picture of him like in the soles of the shoe,
Actually,
which I thought were cool.
You know what? I just realized. I totally forgot this. One summer, I came back and they were doing like a thing with Tracy McGrady in New York for the launch of his shoe, and
Yeah.
I got to like go with him and shoot like kind of behind the scenes video. Had lunch with Tracy McGrady. I totally forgot about that until you.
His shoe was like
Last year he started a forest, or last episode you started a forest fire. Now we're getting
buddies for
lunch.
life.
His shoe, at least when I was growing up, was the best shoe to actually play basketball in at the time. So that was a good shoe. I think I don't know what it is currently, but Kyrie actually had the best shoe to hoop in for a while.
Yep.
But yeah, the T-Max were big when I was a kid. Had multiple pairs of those. Those were the best like actual basketball shoe.
Well, let's let Alex shout out New Balance because I know you're New Balance through and through. Like, you know.
Yeah.
New Balance outlet. Deuce, do you have the dad shoe, the New Balance dad shoe? I feel like that's.
No, I'm trying to avoid that tease.
Okay.
I got a big.
Well, if you talk to like orthopedics, I feel like I've seen a TikTok or something before where like orthopedic surgeons are ranking the like popular shoes these days. New Balance always gets so much love from them. I think it's like not to
like a new
get
way of
into
balance,
like the Mac Hollins Venn diagram, but it's about like the wider toe box and the way it's constructed around like the biomechanics of your actual foot.
New Balance is the official shoe of the Marine Corps.
There you go.
Those are the shoes you wear in boot camp.
Hoorah.
New Balance, if you want to send me
New Balance,
a
go
third
fasters.
pair of 9060s, I would not be mad.
No, I think that's what we're most curious about. We're gonna get some. Never mind the Air Force Ones. How about Patriots Unfiltered?
New Balance ones.
I have pink ones. I have baby blue ones. I need a pair of like red, white, and blue Patriots ones. I already shout your name from the rooftop, so just please wet my beak.
Wow.
Hey, Evan's been trying to work Jersey Mike's for like 5 years now.
Yeah, but we're directly
Shouting
linked
into
to
the
New
wind.
Balance. You
My
know,
new one
like,
is Brunt because I really like my Brunt boots, but I would like two different colors would be nice so I can like.
he's got to change it up with different outfits.
Different, exactly. Like just kind of not be wearing the same shoes for like 4 months. You know.
Yeah.
The other day, Paul was describing like he sold something, like his wife was gonna throw something from the pool out, and then just throw it on Facebook Marketplace, and she ended up selling it for $10. And he's telling us the story, and then he ended up like tipping a haircut guy $10, and like both Evan and I are like, "That's not even a Jersey Mike's."
Yeah, yeah.
Like, we
I
think
was
of
like,
everything,
what do you?
like, Jersey Mike's sub.
He was
is
so
the,
excited that he sold something for $10. I was like, I know that's wrong
gonna
of
be
me
trash.
to not value
Just put it in the
money
trash.
or whatever.
Actually,
my
just
mom
put it
is
in the
mad,
trash.
but,
Are you
like,
above Facebook Marketplace?
Not, I mean, not if I'm gonna actually make.
I love
Oh,
Facebook
Like if I'm
Marketplace.
actually gonna make some money off of
No.
it, no. But $10,
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna go
Yeah.
brag about that.
Fair.
Somebody just comes to your house, takes the piece of crap
Yeah.
you're gonna throw out,
Well,
hands
we've
you a
moved,
$10 bill, and
we've
leaves.
moved a million times.
I
and
made a
we've did a
seating
little bit.
chart for my friend's wedding. It was really cute. The base was like a flower box. It said like love and bloom. It was cute. But I sold
Corny.
it for
No, just
like
kidding.
$350. It
Nice.
was like $250 of profit. And then I'm
Yeah.
lurking on there like, oh, these mid-century modern dining chairs are really cool. So
You're gonna start painting and sanding stuff.
I'm like
Alright.
ready to start like a wedding
Flipping
signage
it.
business because holy crap, money to be made.
There are great
Oh
deals
my
there.
God, the wedding
is
industry, like
fraudulent. It is fraudulent.
it's absurd.
Yeah,
It's absurd.
They what's it called? They like charge more for things like
Wedding tax, they
yeah,
call
they
it.
like simply just because they know it's for
Yeah.
a wedding. Like it's like the same thing they would do for any other normal.
You could book hair and makeup for any random day. Like I could book hair and makeup to get done like before like draft night or something or like an event. It would be very reasonable. If you mention it has anything to do with a wedding, it's like
gouge
times five times five.
Do you have any weddings coming up, Alice, this year?
I do.
Are you getting any speeches coming up here?
I'm a bridesmaid.
I've seen your joke ripped off like 3
October.
different times
I
now.
know,
Not that they're
right?
ripping it off, but
I
they,
know. It's okay.
You don't know that line.
I'm raising awareness so
Yeah.
I can live with it. I'm raising awareness about bad speeches.
You're
yeah.
You're still kind of in the heart of a lot of
I
weddings.
am,
so.
and now I have like little cousins starting to go in that
God.
wave too. So I have a cousin getting married in September. That'll be low key, and then one of my best friends is getting married in October.
First summer in 5 years, got none.
No wedding.
Oh, you're
so
so
happy.
lucky.
I got some next year, but I'm
Yeah.
good for the summer.
I'm so excited for this one though. It's gonna be
Yeah.
like a good group of girls.
Any divorces yet? Anybody?
No
still-
divorces
you'll
yet.
get
Not
there.
a single
You'll get there.
one. Not a single
Yeah, I gotta
one.
tell you
That's
guys
always fun.
something.
The first one of your friends, first one of your friends to get married, first one of your friends to get divorced, first one of your
I
friends to
know.
like get divorced and have like a new girlfriend that you have to now meet. You know, like
And then another bachelor party.
I'm going through
I
first
almost
divorce
said I
friends
can't
right
wait
now.
for that, but
Yeah.
I like my friends' husbands. They did pretty well, so
I remember when that started happening with my parents, and like they'd bring obviously their friends around us and stuff like that, and then the friend would have like a new girlfriend or boyfriend, and it would be like a whole new lease on life for that person, and I'd be
but
like,
they've got kids now too.
yeah, and I'd be
right?
like, this is so awkward, like you're old, and like I don't need to see this, like
I actually did have a divorce, and it didn't last
Yeah.
a year.
No.
My cousin, but I forget about it because I got it was like COVID, so I got uninvited from the wedding because of COVID. was like one of my best friends growing up, like wicked close cousin. But yeah, so she already got remarried and is about to pop out a kid now.
Well, good for her. She got back on the horse. One more football question for us, because this is something I don't think really I've seen talked about much, and we talked about it. Tease, you have, and Evan, I know you have one. Trade up options. Any realistic prospects that would get you really excited for a trade up?
I got two. Sadiq and I can't pronounce his last name, the safety, who's not going to be there.
Dylan Thieneman?
Yeah, that guy's a beast.
Yeah, he's going top 20 easily. I think there's some teams.
I saw some debate about with him.
Caleb
Downs.
Yeah, we're having that conversation. That's when you know it's like, let's get to the draft already. We start doubting. Caleb Downs went from the greatest safety prospect of all time to maybe the second best safety in this class.
Right.
All because of the stupid draft industrial complex. I would agree with Sadiq. I think that one, if you start to see him trickle 20, 21, 22, and then you maybe start to pick up the phone to see if you can leapfrog and catch him. I have a tough time with anybody else, though. I think Sadiq is probably number one. The one question with this draft that I would love to ask Mike Vrabel, but he had to tell me the truth, and it would totally be off the record, is Jordan Tyson. How do you guys... Are you totally out on Jordan Tyson, or are you totally in on Jordan Tyson? That one, I think, would be the other guy that if you were to start to fall because of the injuries and stuff, that maybe you take a chance on the talent with a player like that. But there's two players that I have no idea whether they're in or out, and that's him and Zion Young. Two guys that have, Zion Young has the off-field stuff and Jordan Tyson has the injury history. Those are two guys that I think a lot of Patriots fans have talked about a lot, have had in mock drafts, especially with Zion Young, and there's a chance that Zion Young's not even on their board, because of what has happened in his life. So that's a tough one.
Here's a question. So the draft, there's always surprises. Last year was Sanders sliding, but I remember the Drake May year, where it's like, oh, Michael Penix, we can get him in the second, and then boom, he's a first rounder.
Right.
Is there a chance Sadiq goes 12?
Yes.
So
100%. I think
and then who's a surprise drop this year?
I think Kansas City's at 9, I want to say, and I think that's probably when it starts for Sadiq, is probably back end of the top 10, low teens. Tyler Warren was 14th and Loveland went 11th, I want to say.
Yeah.
So somewhere around there. So as the top tight end in the draft, I think you could see that. Loveland was a different type of body type, obviously, but he didn't have a ton of production either in college because of injuries. And Sadiq was actually probably a better college player than Colston Loveland was. So, Colston Loveland went super high. Who's the guy that could fall? Ruben Bain, I think, is on that list. Short arms, kind of a tweener. Some teams have him as a 3 technique. Some teams have him as an edge rusher. So he's kind of sort of hard guy to put into a position, into a role. So I think that those guys always get tricky. And could fall. I think a guy like Spencer Fano is interesting because some people think he's a center, some people think he's a guard, some people think he's a tackle. So another guy that has some weird positional things with him. But if you had to say the one guy who would have a fall that would be really seismic in terms of the impact, I would say Ruben Bain. He'll fall right to the Rams, and the Rams will do the smart thing of drafting him, and then they'll have Verse and Ruben Bain. Yeah.
What do you think about on paper to the casual fan? Next year's draft is a pretty enticing one. You got all these stars. So do you think teams are gonna be worried about trading those picks, the 2027 picks?
I think teams are going to be worried about trading the 2027 picks. 100%. I think there could be a lot of trades though in the first round of this draft. Because
within this draft,
yes, because it's not a blue chipper draft.
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot of blue chips in a draft like this. So it's all going to be about fit and type and skill sets and body types and all that different kind of stuff. So you might have a wildly different board than another team.
Yeah.
And I think that is going to be could cause some chaos. I brought up Zion Young. Obviously Ruben Bain's out at the top, Keldrick Falk. I have no idea. The consensus is all over the place on a guy like that. The corners, I think that most people, feel that Delane, the guy from LSU, is going to be the number 1 corner, but some really like the kid from Tennessee as the number 1 corner. So it's just there's not a whole lot of consensus on a draft like this because it's not a blue chipper draft. Drake May that draft was the blue chipper draft. You had the quarterbacks, you had Neighbors, you had Marvin Harrison Jr., you had Joe Alt. That was these all guys are all studs. This is a lot different than that.
Quick last one, Georgia, Maryland. Any love for Asante Samuel getting into the Patriots Hall of Fame?
I mean, for me, yes, but for people
It's
like
another
Paul
one.
and Fred, I would imagine no. But
Yeah.
I'm just guessing.
He's in zone corner. Yeah.
No, T-step God though. Drive on the ball better than anybody. But I think that he's one of those guys that was probably more flash than substance to a lot of people, like a lot gaudy interception numbers. But
You could put him and Bill in the same year and let that.
Nice.
Share the stage.
That guy took his basically his whole last couple of years taking shots at Bill Belichick. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for us. But hey, Patriots fans, if you want to see Toyota's best offers, including those not seen on TV, go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals from the official vehicle of the New England Patriots. Toyota, let's go places. And yes, 2 weeks to the draft. Check out Patriots Draft Countdown. We just put out the offensive line episode yesterday. Next week, we got our last produced episode with the tight ends and the running backs, and then we'll have a final live show the day of the first round. So yes, it's all happening, guys, this week. But otherwise, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Hey, this is Deuce. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.